Chapter 214. Zhou Fu stretched out his hand like lightning and made a sword finger, and suddenly pointed at the black-clothed woman's forehead. A faint flame flashed on Zhou Fu's fingertip. The black-clothed woman was pushed back by the strength of the sword finger. She took half a step back and leaned against the chair behind her to stabilize her body. "What did you do to me?" The black-clothed woman's voice was a little panicked. As she spoke, she channeled her inner strength and kept running it in her body, trying to find out what Zhou Fu did to her body. Zhou Fu didn't stop her, nor did he speak. He looked at the black-clothed woman with interest. 2 or 3 minutes later, the black-clothed woman's fierce eyes stared at Zhou Fu through the black veil on her face. What did you do to me?" A trace of killing intent rose in the black-clothed woman's heart. Suddenly, a scorching pain rose from her heart. Ah! The black-clothed woman's body trembled and fell to the ground. In her body, there seemed to be a blazing fire flowing in her body, emitting a high temperature along the way, burning the surrounding meridians. The intense cramping pain made the black-clothed woman suddenly lose control of her body. Zhou Fu said coldly, "Small punishment, big punishment. Since my father didn't pursue the previous matter, I can't say anything more. However, in order to make you more honest in the future, the punishment is necessary." The sharp pain came and went quickly. 5 minutes later, the sharp pain disappeared. The black-clothed woman didn't get up and continued to lie on the ground, trembling all over. The pain just now was too torturous. Especially in the last 10 seconds, that kind of pain was always hovering at the limit of making her faint. "What kind of method is this?" The black-clothed woman's tone was full of panic. She had heard and seen many methods of torture, but it was the first time she saw such a strange and vicious method. Zhou Fu didn't explain. This technique was learned from the refining heart goo. He originally wanted to use it on Xinggang. The heart-refining voodoo worm could devour fire attribute energy, and Xinggang also practiced a fire attribute cultivation method. He didn't expect to be able to restrain the other party, but at least he could reduce the damage to a certain extent. Of course, it would be even better if there was some sort of restrictive effect. On the way back to Heyang City, Zhou Fu researched on how to control the refinement heart goo, and he managed to discover some trick. Now that he had used it on the black-clothed woman, it seemed that the effect was not bad. "You don't have to worry about what methods I'm using. Just focus on doing your job and know your place. If you make any more mistakes, Zhou Fu sneered at the woman in black and ignored her. After all, Zhou Datsai's attitude was quite strange. Although he was curious, he felt that Zhou Datsai wouldn't tell him. Seeing that Zhou Fu had finished dealing with the woman in black, Zhou Datsai only smiled. He didn't care and didn't stop him. Zhou Fu turned his head and said, "Father, I will leave some guards at home. If you go out, just bring them along. There are a total of 2 blood-changing realm guards and 10 bone-tempering third realm guards." Hearing Zhou Fu's words, Zhou Datsai's heart shook. He was very gratified, but also had some complicated feelings. He nodded at Zhou Fu and asked, "You're leaving?" Zhou Fu replied, "Didn't something happen to the giant whales village outside the city? It's said that it's very strange. I want to go and take a look." Zhou Datsai asked strangely, "You're so concerned about your job?" He knew that Zhou Fu had always been a lazy person since he was young. How could he be so concerned about something that was not important and dangerous at the same time? After all, I'm now a reputable person in the gang. There are some things that I have to take a look at. Zhou Datsai sneered at this answer. He didn't believe it at all. "That's enough. Your mouth is full of lies. The thing outside the city is basically the monster under the ancestral hall. Even if it's not as strong as you have to be very careful. That thing is still very strange." Zhou Fu nodded. When a person had strength, they could be proud, but they couldn't be arrogant. He still understood this. "Don't worry, father. I know." "It's good that you know. That's right, do you know saber techniques?" Zhou Fu was stunned for a moment. He reluctantly said, "Saber techniques? They're not bad." Back then, in order to hide his bronze armor art and iron bone secret scroll, he had brought out the yellow stage body protection technique, yellow dragon treasure technique from the giant whale. There was also a yellow stage saber technique, armor breaking saber. Although Zhou Fu didn't usually practice saber techniques, he still knew how to use them. Yellow stage martial arts were very simple. There weren't too many fancy things. The armor-breaking saber was just like that. It focused on heavy momentum, fast moves, and condensed strength. Seeing that the saber technique was simple, Zhou Fu also learned it. Later, he used the Akalanatha Dharma to analyze it. Therefore, it couldn't be said that Zhou Fu didn't know saber technique. It could only be said that he was new to it. Zhou Dutsai could tell from Zhou Fu's expression that this little bastard probably didn't know saber technique. He narrowed his eyes and asked helplessly, "You don't know saber techniques? What about swords?" Zhou Fu was silent. He really didn't know how to do that. "Spear? If it's spear, I can learn it," Zhou Fu replied. In the first batch of secret manuals that he got from Bai Lang, there was a profound level spear technique. The name was very scary. It was called Blood Evil Spear Technique. Zhou Fu didn't have time to look at it. He only learned the threefold force and gold cracking finger from those techniques. He had learned these from the experience of the Jinshan Boxing Dojo's master, Ding Ho. Techniques could be learned from others' strong points, and it should be done so. That was why he learned them. Therefore, Zhou Fu learned the two techniques and tried to integrate the wonders of them into his own attack. Zhou Dutsai was so angry that he laughed at Zhou Fu. "Learn? What the hell have you been learning? You don't even know how to use weapons." Zhou Fu said embarrassedly, "I usually use my fists." Zhou Dutsai sighed, and a trace of guilt flashed in his eyes. Then, he quickly adjusted his state of mind and said, "In that case, I'll give you a saber later. Even if you don't know saber techniques, you should know how to slash, right?" "Yes, as long as your moves are fast and accurate, it's definitely not a problem," Zhou Fu replied. However, he also asked the question in his heart, "Father, why do I have to bring a weapon?" Zhou Dutsai did not answer, but got up and walked outside. "Come with me, I'll take you to get a saber." Zhou Dutsai was in front, and Zhou Fu was half a step behind Zhou Dutsai. The two of them were about to go out. At this moment, Zhou Fu turned his head and said to the woman in black, "Get up and follow me." His indifferent voice made the woman in black shudder instantly. This was a subconscious reaction from her body. She quickly got up and followed the two of them. "Hey Fu-er, you don't have to be too harsh on her. Just punish her a little. Besides, your father is still alive." Zhou Fu smiled. "I know. By the way, father, this woman is not one of your people, right?" Zhou Dutsai shook his head. "No." He hesitated for a moment and said, "She's one of your mother's people." "My mother?" Zhou Fu repeated in surprise. He asked subconsciously, "My mother is not dead?" In Zhou Fu's impression, he had never seen a mother, nor did he have any related memories. This made Zhou Fu think that he was from a single-parent family. "Of course she's alive." Zhou Dutsai stopped in his tracks. He looked at Zhou Fu, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "She's alive. She's alive and well." From Zhou Dutsai's expression and tone, all kinds of annoying plot lines appeared in Zhou Fu's mind. Then, they were cleared away by the Akalanatha Dharma, and his mind was cleared. "Aren't you curious about who your mother is?" Zhou Fu was very puzzled by Zhou Dutsai's response. After hearing that his mother was still alive, wouldn't a child who thought he had lost his mother want to ask about the specifics? Zhou Fu answered, "I'm not curious. When you want to say it, just tell me. If you don't want to say it, it's useless to ask." Zhou Dutsai looked at Zhou Fu in surprise, shook his head and said, "You brat? Forget it, let's go." Turning around, the three of them continued to walk into the depths of the Zhou mansion. As Zhou Ducai walked, he explained to Zhou Fu, "It's not that I don't want to say it. It's that it's useless to say it. Instead, it'll add some trouble. Do as you see fit. I don't care." Zhou Ducai was silent. He felt a little uncomfortable, but he couldn't say what he was feeling. For the rest of the journey, the three of them didn't speak. They just walked like this. 7 or 8 minutes later, they arrived at a courtyard. "This is our family's storeroom. I haven't been here in a long time." Zhou Ducai sighed. He took out a key from his bosom, went to the door of the house, and opened it. The room was very dark. Zhou Ducai lit a lamp and walked in first. There were many shelves here, but most of them were empty. Zhou Ducai led the two of them to a painting. He took down the painting and felt around the wall for a while. The sound of a mechanism rang out, and a lattice appeared on the wall. In the lattice was a knife holder, and on it was a sheathed long knife. Zhou Ducai gestured to Zhou Fu, "Fu, take it out." This strong sense of ceremony made Zhou Fu become serious. He took out the long knife and weighed it. It was a little light for him. "This is a knife left behind by my Zhou family's ancestors. Although it's not a treasure, it's not ordinary iron. You forget it. Be careful." Clang! A cold light suddenly appeared. Under the light, the knife in Zhou Fu's hand appeared bronze green. "This is made of bronze?" Zhou Fu looked at the weapon in his hand. Zhou Ducai opened his mouth and finally spat out. "How would I know?" Zhou Fu asked in return. "Didn't you say that this was left behind by your ancestors? If you didn't know, would you hide it so well?" Zhou Ducai looked at Zhou Fu as if he was looking at an idiot. "Are you stupid? Although I don't know much about knives, I know that this thing is a treasure." "Fine." This reason was very strong. Zhou Fu was speechless. "Does it have a name?" Zhou Ducai was silent for a moment and shook his head. "No, it's just a knife. If you want, you can take one. However, you don't know any knife skills. Why do you care so much about this thing? Do you have nothing to do?" He turned around and said, "You've taken the knife. Don't stay here. Let's go." Chapter 2:15. In the courtyard of the warehouse, while Zhou Fu was waiting for Zhou Ducai to close the door, he was looking at the long saber in his hand. The blade was bronze green and was the same length as his arm. Under the sun, the blade flashed with a bright yellow light. "It doesn't have a name." Zhou Fu's eyes flashed. The next moment, great sun true qi poured in. Hum! The clear sound of the saber rang out. A ray of sunlight flowed out from the hilt and rushed towards the tip of the saber. Zhou Fu's eyes lit up as joy appeared in his eyes. Good stuff. At that moment, the moves and essentials of armor-breaking saber appeared in Zhou Fu's mind. The next moment, a dazzling light lit up in the courtyard, followed by rolling heat waves. The air was roasted by the high temperature, and the airflow flowed rapidly. Whoosh whoosh. The blade cut through the air with a series of air-breaking sounds. "Ha ha ha ha. Good stuff. Good stuff." Zhou Fu laughed happily. He felt that his inner strength was flowing smoothly on the long saber. It felt like his arm was extending. Of course, there was also a feeling of awkwardness. After all, Zhou Fu's previous moves were all on his fist. It was his first time using a weapon. The golden light dissipated and the heat waves subsided. However, the temperature in the courtyard was still a little high. On the other side, Zhou Ducai's face was ugly. "Little bastard, are you trying to heat me to death?" His tone was harsh and his eyes were angry. However, in Zhou Ducai's heart, he was shocked by Zhou Fu again. As for that saber, Zhou Ducai was not as clueless as he had said before. On the contrary, he knew very well. That was why he was shocked by the situation in front of him. Not only Zhou Ducai, but even the woman in black who was forced into a corner by the heat waves and saber light was shocked. She also recognized that saber. After seeing Zhou Fu put away the saber, she quickly lowered her head and followed behind him. Zhou Fu smiled and said to his father, "This saber is indeed extraordinary. By the way, Dad, since the ancestors left this saber behind, is there a corresponding saber technique? No, get lost. Zhou Ducai rolled his eyes. At the same time, he was also considering Zhou Fu's words. Should he give some of his ancestors' grace to this little bastard? What's your cultivation level now? Me? Oh, the 3rd level of bone forging. Zhou Ducai nodded and calmly repeated, Oh, bone forging. Seeing Zhou Ducai's expression, Zhou Fu wondered if his father still had something good that he had yet to take out. Could it be that he felt that his cultivation was not enough? Thinking until here, Zhou Fu opened his mouth and said, Don't look down on me just because I'm only at the 3rd level of bone tempering. Even if a level 1 of Mortal Exude's realm comes, I can still fight. Facing Zhou Fu and the black-clothed woman's shocked gaze, Zhou Fu continued, I'm sure I'll win, but I might not be able to kill him. As you know, extraordinary people sometimes run very fast. This sentence made Zhou Ducai's eyes widen. What did he mean by might not be able to kill the other party? What did he mean by run very fast? Could it be that Zhou Fu was able to defeat an extraordinary person? Zhou Ducai opened his mouth. He didn't even try to refute Zhou Fu's, you know that too. He said dryly, You don't bite off more than you can chew. You have to be down to earth. Extraordinary people aren't that simple. Zhou Fu nodded. I know. Don't worry, Dad. As long as the other party hasn't opened the attainment orifice, I can do it. Zhou Ducai didn't want to bother with this brat anymore. The more he spoke, the more arrogant he became. He turned his head and suddenly asked, Fu, what cultivation method are you practicing now? Great Sun Tru Chi. There was no need to keep this a secret, so Zhou Fu directly said it. Unexpectedly, Zhou Ducai took a deep breath and stared at Zhou Fu. What? Great Sun Tru Chi? Which Great Sun Tru Chi? What else can it be? It's the one from the Great Buddhist Temple. Didn't you go to Ning'an City? The Great Buddhist Temple isn't in Fengyang Prefecture. Zhou Fu looked at Zhou Ducai strangely. You know where the Great Buddhist Temple is? I don't know. Hurry up and say it. Someone saw that I was talented and gave it to me. Zhou Ducai sneered. Talented? Don't talk nonsense with me. How can you give this cultivation method away? Do you think I'm stupid? Zhou Fu could hear the deep worry in Zhou Ducai's voice. He explained, Don't worry, Dad. There's no free lunch in this world. Since someone gave me a cultivation method, they naturally have something for me to do. Hearing that Zhou Fu understood the meaning behind it and said such profound words, Zhou Ducai was somewhat surprised. After all, in his impression, this son of his was a gluttonous and lazy good-for-nothing. So you're not stupid. Since you know the pros and cons, you still dare to accept this cultivation method? At this moment, the 3 of them had already returned to Zhou Ducai's courtyard. Zhou Fu hurriedly walked up the stairs and pushed open the door to let Zhou Ducai in first. The 3 of them sat down in the room. Zhou Fu said, Why didn't you accept it? When the time comes, you can just let him do the job. Zhou Ducai snorted and asked, Isn't it dangerous? It's just beating someone up. Beating someone up? Zhou Fu nodded. When brothers have conflicts, they can't fight each other. As for me, I happen to have some talent and my performance is not bad. It's good to use it as a weapon. I'd be a fool not to use it. Humph. You know it well. But have you thought about what happens after you beat someone up? Zhou Fu grinned. After? If I can suppress him for a while, I can suppress him forever. What if you can't suppress him? What if the person behind him comes out? Can't suppress him? Zhou Fu shrugged indifferently. I'll go to the government or join the army. As long as I get the benefits, I'll work for anyone. You! This sentence made Zhou Ducai choke on his words a little. He stared at Zhou Fu for a long time and sighed in his heart. Where did he learn to be so shameless? After thinking for a long time, he still couldn't figure it out. Anyway, he didn't learn it from him. As long as you have your own plans. Now that I've given you the knife, get lost. Zhou Fu hesitated and asked, Dad, you really don't have any knife skills? No. Get lost. Zhou Fu ran away quickly. Sigh. This little bastard, who does he take after? I wasn't that shameless back then. The woman in black nodded in agreement. Zhou Ducai wasn't that shameless back then. Otherwise, he wouldn't be trapped in Heong City for almost 20 years. The woman in black thought for a while and asked, Zhou, she wanted to call him Fatty Zhou, but Zhou Fu's indifferent expression suddenly appeared in her mind. She swallowed the word fatty, that was at the tip of her tongue. Did you really give him the knife? If people know about it, there'll be trouble. Zhou Ducai smiled and didn't seem to care. He was more interested in how the woman in black called him. What? You're not calling me fatty anymore? The woman in black was silent for a while and didn't say anything. Instead, she continued, You better ask that kid to remove the restriction on me. If not, there'll be trouble. Zhou Ducai smiled. Trouble? I've been pretending to be a pig for so many years. If they still don't let go of what happened back then, I'm not someone to be trifled with. The woman in black was shocked. She looked at Zhou Ducai in shock. You can't be, don't think too much. I'm just saying, let's not involve the next generation in our affairs. Although that was what he said, things in this world weren't that simple. You gave the knife to Zhou Fu. That means he's the successor of the Zhou family. Since you've made your decision, don't regret it. Zhou Ducai smiled. It's just a knife. Why are you so calculative? A knife? The woman in black sneered. When did the celestial dragon sparrow become a nameless knife? Zhou Ducai was in a trance when he heard the name of the knife. This name was a long time ago for him. After a while, Zhou Ducai shook his head and said, There's no such thing as the celestial dragon sparrow now. It's just a nameless knife. In the future, whatever Fu calls it, it'll be whatever it is. The woman in black sighed. Whatever you say, it'll be whatever it is. As for what others think, I don't know. Zhou Fu made all the necessary arrangements at home. He left behind a few bodyguards, then led the others to the whale gang's headquarters. Niu Wanqing greeted him. My lord, I've prepared everything here. Zhou Fu brought 4 guards with him. 2 of them were carrying boxes. Zhou Fu came to the front of the crowd and waved his hand. The 2 guards carrying the boxes walked forward. Bang bang. The boxes were opened. One of the boxes was filled with banknotes. Niu Wanqing, distribute the money now. Niu Wanqing was stunned. He thought that the money would be distributed after the event. When he heard Zhou Fu calling him, he hurried forward and took the box. Looking at the banknotes inside, he subconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. 2 of you, come here and distribute the money. These 2 words seemed to have endless magic. The people who were gathered here were more or less resentful. However, after receiving the banknotes, they felt much better. Seeing that the banknotes were distributed, Zhou Fu pointed to another box and said, You all know about the spirit concentration pills. They're all in this box. Every one of you will get one. At this moment, everyone's breathing became heavy. But I won't give it to you now. I'll give it to you when we return from the farmstead. Zhou Fu's gaze swept around and said, Your mission this time is to patrol. 5 people in a team with gongs. If you find anything unusual, you'll make a scene. As for fighting, you don't have to participate. Hearing that they didn't have to fight, these people heaved a sigh of relief. Now that they were just patrolling, not only would they get money, but they would also get to distribute the pills. Naturally, everyone present was very happy. Yes, we understand. Zhou Fu asked Niu Wanqing, Steward Niu, have you prepared everything for the accommodation? My lord, everything has been prepared. I've also arranged for some people to prepare the accommodations in advance. Everything was ready. Zhou Fu ordered, Let's go. Chapter 216. River Sun City, Mountain Front Market. Sir, in front of us is our manor. Niu Wanqing pointed to the front and said. In front of the crowd, there was a dilapidated manor. According to Niu Wanqing, there were more than 60 families in it. Now, there was only an abandoned village with no signs of life. The sound of horse hooves and wheels sounded again on the road of the manor. Everyone was speechless and followed the guide. When they came to a large courtyard, the people inside heard the movement and came out. Sir, this is where we stored the food. The place is big, and now it has been cleaned up. Our brothers have worked hard, so we can live here. For this point, Zhou Fu actually had no opinion. After all, he came here to do business, and not to stay here permanently. Being able to block the rain and be a little cleaner was good enough. Zhou Fu looked at the surrounding environment. The walls of the courtyard were half a person high, and if they moved at night, it might cause some inconvenience. You have people push down these walls. Niu Wanqing replied. Yes, I will arrange for people to do it. Does Sir have any other orders? Zhou Fu shook his head. Go and do it. At this time, it was still early, around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. If they wanted to wait until night fell, it would be estimated that it would take more than 4 hours. It's still early, I will first familiarize myself with the saber technique. The moves of armor-breaking saber were simple and clear. Chop, chop, and block. These 3 points were the core of this saber technique. Because the saber technique was simple, the moves were not so complicated. After displaying them, they were not so eye-catching. With the support of his martial intent, Zhou Fu only needed half an hour to thoroughly understand this yellow step saber skill. He was familiar with the various moves and routines in his heart, and he was able to smoothly connect them together. He was also able to accomplish the essentials of each style. I know the moves, but in a real battle it is certainly not the case. Moves in real battle were certainly different, and Zhou Fu was very clear about this point. In a battle, where would there be so many opportunities for you to connect moves, and also move after move? Zhou Fu sat down, closed his eyes, and constantly deduced the battles he had encountered in his mind. Then, he put himself in the shoes of the person who used the saber technique. 15 minutes later, Zhou Fu opened his eyes with a helpless expression. The battle he had just entered was when he had just gone to Ning'anqing, where he had fought his way into the Red Sea Gang's base alone. In his consciousness, he fought with the manager of the Red Sea Gang, Ren Jin, for 20 minutes before his thoughts were interrupted. Sigh, a heavily injured Ren Jin can actually fight with me for such a long time. I'm really not used to using a weapon. Back then, Zhou Fu had not fought with the heavily injured Ren Jin for a long time. This time, he had been able to deduce the battle for 20 minutes, and this time, he had also used a lot of Zhou Fu's own understanding of martial arts. Moreover, during the battle, Zhou Fu had suppressed his strength to the state he was in at that time. If he didn't do that, based on the current Zhou Fu, even if Ren Jin wasn't injured, his head would be separated from his body with a single slash. Zhou Fu stood up and unleashed his saber technique, incorporating the experience he had just gained from the battle. After the integration, he sat down cross-legged again and closed his eyes to deduce. Just like that, he deduced and improved over and over again until his opponent became the giant whale's foreign affairs elder Zhao Wanshan. Only then did he stop. At this time, it was already late, and a brazier was set up in the courtyard. After everyone finished eating, they rested for a while and waited until 10 minutes past midnight before they started patrolling with their weapons. The deduction is too energy-consuming. I can't continue at night, or I'll easily make mistakes. Zhou Fu sighed. To be honest, the method of constantly deducing and improving oneself was really too intoxicating. However, this method had its limitations. This limitation was Zhou Fu's own martial arts cultivation and energy. With a change of mind, the great Sun True energy in his body began to circulate. The night passed in a flash. As the sky turned white, the patrolling people breathed a sigh of relief. Although Zhou Fu had previously said that they did not need to participate in the battle, When they thought about what they were looking for, they were still afraid. According to past experience, as long as the sun appeared, that kind of monster would not appear again. For the next 3 days, the manor was quiet and nothing happened. Even the patrolling people began to relax their vigilance. Niu Wanqing found Zhou Fu and reported, "Sir, we've been out for 4 days and nothing has happened. Why don't we go back first? After all, the city is our foundation." The implication was quite clear, which was to give up on the manor. After all, the benefits that this thing could bring to the giant whale were quite limited. Even if they were to throw it away, it would not have any other impact other than losing face. Zhou Fu thought for a moment. He also knew that there was no way to guard against thieves for 1,000 days. However, he was not here to solve the problem of the manor. He was here for the ghosts and monsters. On the contrary, the matter of the manor was solved in passing. Zhou Fu's fingers twitched as he thought for a long time. Then he asked, "What about the people in the manor?" Niu Wanqing paused and said, "After that incident, they all moved away." "Where did they move to?" "In the valley northwest of Hayong City. I bought an empty plot of land. The land there is better than here, so—" Niu Wanqing's face showed a trace of embarrassment. He did not believe that the headquarters would respond to his request for help. Writing a letter was just a formality. After all, changing a manor required some funds. With expenses, he would have benefit. That was Niu Wanqing's real purpose. But who knew that the headquarters not only responded to Niu Wanqing's request for help, but also sent the external affairs emissary. When Niu Wanqing first found out about Zhou Fu's identity, it gave him quite a scare. Zhou Fu looked at Niu Wanqing with a cold expression on his face. The air around him started to turn heavy. Just as Niu Wanqing bent his knees and was about to kneel down, Zhou Fu slapped Niu Wanqing and sent him flying. Bang! Niu Wanqing's body landed in the yard. Zhou Fu also came to his side in a blink of an eye. He kicked Niu Wanqing, who just landed on the ground, and sent him flying again. The people who were guarding the yard were all stunned. They did not understand what happened. Zhou Fu's face was cold. He shouted, "Get up! Milord, I was wrong. I was really wrong. I hope that Milord can be magnanimous and let me go." Niu Wanqing resisted the pain in his body and cried out, "Let me ask you, did anything strange happen in the valley?" "No, no." Niu Wanqing quickly shook his head. "The valley has just been settled. Nothing strange happened." Zhou Fu snorted. "Around Hayong City, did anything strange happen?" "Master, no." Zhou Fu paused and asked, "That means, outside of Hayong City, only our giant whale's manor has strange things happening?" "Yes." Looking at Niu Wanqing, Zhou Fu sneered in his heart. He ordered, "Return to the city." Hayong City, Red Sea Gang's base. Red Sea Gang manager Lu Yuanqing looked at Zhou Fu awkwardly. Young Master Zhou, I wonder why you came to find me?" Zhou Fu smiled and said, "Manager Lu, you don't have to be like this. My Zhou family has business dealings with you. To be honest, we are in the same boat." "Ha ha ha, young Master Zhou is right." Lu Yuanqing laughed. But in his heart, he did not think so. A giant whale's external affairs emissary with such a high cultivation base. He was only in the bone-forging stage with me. He was also a manager of a rival gang. If there was nothing going on, he would write his name backwards. The two chatted for a while. Zhou Fu said, "Manager Lu, you have been in Hayong City for a while. I would like to ask you something." Lu Yuanqing's heart jumped. "Here it comes." "Ha ha ha, young Master Zhou is too polite. If I know, I will definitely tell you." "Then I will thank Manager Lu first." Zhou Fu took out a small box. He opened it and pushed it towards Lu Yuanqing. "This is?" Lu Yuanqing looked at the small white balls in the box in surprise. Zhou Fu smiled. Zhou Fu may be young, but I know the ways of the world. If I am looking for someone to do something, I must have the attitude of looking for someone to do something for me." He pointed at the small balls in the box and said, These are 20 spirit concentration pills. It is also my sincerity. Lu Yuanqing's eyes widened. His heart skipped a beat. Mind? Who the hell would mind? As long as it was not asking him to betray the Red Sea Gang, even if it was asking him to fight, it would be fine. Although he was excited, he did not let these things go to his head. Young Master Zhou, these things are too valuable. Let's talk about the matter. If I cannot help you, I will feel uneasy holding on to these things. The spirit concentration pills in the box were nothing to Zhou Fu. But to a manager like Lu Yuanqing, who was stationed in a remote area, it was a huge sum of money. Seeing Lu Yuanqing's vigilance, Zhou Fu smiled. Manager Lu, you don't have to be like this. I am just asking for some information. Hearing young Master Zhou say that, I am curious. What kind of information is worth 20 spirit concentration pills? This is not a secret. I think you have heard about it. A few days ago, something strange happened in the village outside the city. You know about this, right? Lu Yuanqing nodded. Of course I know. Not only do I know about this, many people in the city know about it too. Speaking of this, Lu Yuanqing was even more confused. But, didn't this happen in your clan's territory? Why is young Master Zhou here? Zhou Fu smiled. This matter is a bit embarrassing. Although Manager Niu is usually not bad, he is a bit muddle-headed in this matter. East of the city, a new village was built in the valley. After saying this, Zhou Fu stopped talking. Hearing this, Lu Yuanqing instantly understood. He also smiled, and then avoided this matter. Fine. Since young Master Zhou asked, I will tell you. Following this, Zhou Fu once again heard the strange matter from Lu Yuanqing's mouth. However, according to Lu Yuanqing, Niu Wanqing was still at the first level of bone tempering, but later broke through. Although this matter is inauspicious, for Manager Niu, isn't it good fortune after surviving a great disaster? Zhou Fu remembered this in his heart, and then asked, after the strange matter at the village, weren't you worried? Lu Yuanqing's expression froze, and he said, Of course I was afraid, but what's the use? If the giant whale can't stop it, does young Master Zhou think that I can? Besides, it's just a village outside the city. If it's thrown away, it's thrown away. It's not a big deal. Zhou Fu nodded and asked again, Did anything else strange happen? Anything else? Lu Yuanqing frowned, thinking back to what had happened recently. If you want to talk about strange things, there are indeed some. This is your gang's internal matter. After that incident, Niu Wanqing constantly organized people to go into the mountains to investigate. Each time he went, it would be for 2 days. Oh! Zhou Fu immediately became spirited and asked, Are they missing people? I don't think so. They should be missing. I just heard about it, that's all. Lu Yuanqing was so excited that he almost revealed that he was monitoring the other party. Looking at Zhou Fu, he smiled awkwardly. Since that's the case, I thank Manager Lu. Please accept these pills and this 1,000 taels of silver. I won't stay any longer. With that, Zhou Fu got up and walked out. Lu Yuanqing took a deep breath, and with a wave of his sleeve, the table became empty in an instant. Take care, young Master Zhou. Come often if you have nothing to do. After returning home, Zhou Fu first went to find Zhou Ducai to talk for a while. How is it? Is it done? Zhou Fu shook his head. No. If it's not, why are you so happy? Seeing you like this, I thought it was done. Zhou Fu smiled. It wasn't done, but I discovered something, so I'm happy. Zhou Ducai asked curiously, What good thing? You'll know when the time comes. Looking at Zhou Fu's proud look, Zhou Ducai sneered, Are you done? If you're done, then get lost. There's one more thing. Tomorrow, I'll be staying at the river valley in the east of the city for 2 days. Hearing the name of the place, Zhou Ducai was stunned for a moment, then his expression changed slightly. After muttering to himself for a while, he asked, Monster's Lair? This time, it was Zhou Fu's turn to be stunned. He had investigated a lot of things before he deduced that there was something wrong with the river valley. He didn't expect Zhou Ducai to be able to guess it just by listening to a few sentences. He was scared out of his wit. Father, what about me? You're still inexperienced. Let me tell you, the river valley is a little strange. If you don't have an extraordinary cultivation, don't go deep into the mountain. Remember this clearly. Zhou Fu thought for a while and didn't ask further. After he agreed, he got up and left. River Valley, what are you sighing about? Isn't the Feng clan's castle above the river valley? An old voice sounded. Soon after, an old lady walked out from the house. She looked to be over 80 years old. Behind the old lady was the black-clothed woman from before. Chapter 217. Outside of Heong City, there were mountains in the northwest direction. There were a few streams flowing out of the mountains and converging at the west of Heong City, forming a river that flowed towards the east. At the foot of a nameless mountain, there was a small river valley. There were many similar river valleys in Heong City. Sir, our farm is right in front. There were dozens of farmhouses, and in the middle of them was a large yard. There were a few tall granaries and a few warehouses. The villagers saw Niu Wanqing and quickly came to greet him. This stance scared Niu Wanqing half to death. He knew very well that Zhou Fu's resentment towards him had yet to dissipate. This is Mr. Zhou. Niu Wanqing took 2 steps back and stood behind Zhou Fu. The villagers looked at each other and bowed. Mr. Zhou. Looking at the dozens of dusty faces and numb expressions with a hint of panic, Zhou Fu immediately felt vexed. He really wanted to slap Niu Wanqing to death. He didn't know why he felt this way. It was anger. Forget about it. Get the accommodations ready. Yes, sir. Niu Wanqing could hear the anger in Zhou Fu's voice. He quickly dismissed the villagers and asked the workers to clean up the rooms. It was harvest season, but because of the disaster in Heong City a few days ago, the harvest this year was gone. Therefore, the warehouses in the farm were empty. After cleaning up, it wouldn't feel crowded for hundreds of people. After working for 4 hours, the yard was finally cleaned up. Just then, there were a few bullock carts outside the farm. The first 2 bullock carts had a few big wooden buckets filled with clean water. The other 4 carts had vegetables, rice, and meat. Sir? This? Niu Wanqing looked at the bullock carts hesitantly. He was panicking. What was the meaning of this? Was he afraid that there was something wrong with the farm? Or was he suspecting that there was something wrong with him? No matter what the reason was, Niu Wanqing's life was in Zhou Fu's hands. He couldn't help but be afraid and panic. Zhou Fu asked calmly, "Is there a problem?" "No. I wouldn't dare. One of the guards who came with Zhou Fu walked out and began to arrange for people to unload the things on the ox cart. Not only that, but there were also a few chefs who came along with the ox cart. These people were all arranged by Zhou Fu. After unloading the goods, the chefs began to prepare the dishes while the ox carts returned to Heong City. After the meal, Zhou Fu arranged for people to start patrolling around the valley while he continued to deduce the cultivation technique. Continued deducing armor-breaking saber. Time slowly passed. Before sunset, the guards who had gone out to investigate had already returned. Then, according to the information they had gathered, they began to set up defenses. After the sky darkened, Niu Wanqing arranged for people to start patrolling the manor. Regarding this, the patrolling guards had many complaints. Nothing happened in the valley, so why do we have to patrol in the middle of the night? Damn, who knows? The way I see it, that guy surnamed Zhou is purposely tormenting us so that he can take the credit and use it to climb up the ranks. Don't you think so? So what if I am? So what if I'm not? He's the Lord after all. You're all wrong. As soon as he said this, everyone turned to look at him. The person who spoke was very pleased with himself. Under everyone's anxious gaze, he slowly said, "This Mr. Zhou has a grudge against our steward Niu. Since we're steward Niu's people, It's only natural that he would target us first. Someone retorted, if he has a grudge against Steward Nyo, then he should go and look for Steward Nyo. Didn't he beat him up before? Why would he target us now? Don't you understand? We're Steward Nyo's subordinates. If we make a mistake, it means that Steward Nyo made a mistake. Naturally, he would have a reason to punish Steward Nyo. Hearing this, everyone fell into deep thought. Needless to say, after thinking about it, they felt that it made sense. Alright, don't think too much about it. That's the business of the big shot. Let's just do our jobs properly. Besides, isn't it good that nothing happened in the valley? Groups after groups of people were all complaining the same thing. The night was getting darker. Zhou Fu, who was cultivating with his eyes closed, suddenly felt a jolt in his heart. He opened his eyes and woke up. In the room, the dim candlelight swayed gently, and the light also swayed back and forth. Outside the light, the darkness seemed especially deep. Zhou Fu waved his hand. With a sweep of his inner force, the long saber hanging beside him flew into his hand. It's too quiet. As he pushed open the door, a gust of cold air rushed in. In a daze, he felt as if he was in the middle of winter. The air that Zhou Fu exhaled from his nose turned into white mist that was visible to the naked eye. Thud! Thud! The sound of footsteps came from under Zhou Fu's feet. It made the surroundings seem even more empty and lonely. After walking for more than 10 steps, the surroundings were completely dark. It gave people the illusion that they were pacing on the spot. Interesting. Is this an illusion? Zhou Fu muttered to himself in a low voice. Before he finished speaking, a gust of cold wind blew toward Zhou Fu's neck. Whoosh! A cold light flashed and extinguished the cold wind with a puff. Before Zhou Fu could make his next move, several gusts of cold wind came again. Ridiculous! Zhou Fu snorted coldly. The long saber in his hand slashed continuously, cutting the cold wind 2 steps away from him. Cluck, cluck, cluck. A strange sound came from the darkness. It was like the sound of an old wooden box being opened. The corner of Zhou Fu's mouth twitched twice. Did the other party do this to scare him? After thinking about this, Zhou Fu looked around and suddenly felt nostalgic. He remembered that he and his friends tried the zombie theme. That was really, should I say it? It's really good to be able to do this. But you found the wrong person. After Zhou Fu finished reminiscing, the ripples of memories in his mind were wiped away in an instant. Then, a killing intent that was colder than the cold wind outside spread out from Zhou Fu's body. There was also a black fog that seemed to be alive. It gushed out from his feet and spread in all directions. Not far from Zhou Fu, there was a sudden cry of surprise. The corner of Zhou Fu's mouth curled up slightly. The demonic fog had already frightened the enemy in the darkness. The cold killing intent surged out and quickly locked onto the enemy's position. Darkness. He would use something even darker to defeat it. Of course, Zhou Fu used the demonic whale killing fist to fight against the enemy because he wanted to hide his true strength. The black fog tumbled and Zhou Fu's figure suddenly disappeared. He appeared at the place where the scream came from. What the hell is this? Zhou Fu stomped his foot. The surging power was like a small mountain, trampling a grayish-white monster under his feet. Roar. After the monster reacted, it roared. A black claw grew from its arm that was as long as its leg. It reversed its joint and clawed at Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu flipped the long saber in his hand and used the back of the saber to cut at the joint of the monster's arm. Crack! The sound of bones breaking was heard. The grayish-white arm hung limply. The joint can be reversed, but it can also restrict movement after breaking it. Zhou Fu nodded and muttered to himself. Then, he kicked the monster under his feet away. After the monster landed, it bounced up. A dark green liquid flowed from the corner of its mouth, which looked like blood. Roar. The monster roared again and pounced at Zhou Fu. No fear. It doesn't seem to be very smart. It knows it can't beat me, but it still wants to charge at me. It should be a small fry. Zhou Fu shook his head. He flipped the long saber in his hand again. This time, the blade was facing forward. A cold light slashed down. Bang! The sharp saber light hit the monster head-on. Then, with a poof, the saber light penetrated the monster's body and exploded in the air. Zhou Fu turned his head and looked at the darkness on his left. He sneered, "You're a rat in the gutter. Do you want me to come before you're willing to show yourself?" Without waiting for the person in the darkness to react, Zhou Fu's figure disappeared again. "Not good!" A shocked and angry voice sounded. A wave of energy came from the darkness. Then, a cold light flashed. Amidst the angry roar, a thick black fog exploded and gathered 10 steps away. Patter! An object fell. Zhou Fu's figure appeared. He kicked the object that fell on the ground into the air. It was an arm. In the flash of the saber, the arm was cut into several pieces by the blade and fell to the ground. The demonic fog rolled and drowned the pieces on the ground in the blink of an eye. "Why are you hiding? Didn't you have fun sneaking up on me just now? You even had fun watching me kill that small fry. Now it's your turn." "Small fry." An angry voice came from the rolling black fog. "How dare you call them small fry? Go to hell." Before he could finish his sentence, a series of roars came from the darkness. At this moment, Zhou Fu seemed to have fallen into the encirclement of wild beasts. Zhou Fu swung his saber, shook his head, and said, "How should I put it? Since when can small fry win by relying on numbers?" The black fog rolled and roared, "Kill them!" One after another, grayish-white figures jumped out from the darkness. If one counted carefully, there were at least a dozen of them. "Since you don't want to give up, I'll let you see it clearly." Zhou Fu smiled and walked with the saber in his hand. A snow-white light suddenly appeared in the dim environment. The saber was sharper than snow. It cut through the gray figures, and the broken bodies were blown in all directions by the surging internal force. 2 minutes later, Zhou Fu stood with his saber. He looked at the black fog floating in the air and said, "Can you talk to me properly now?" "No. Impossible. You can't be so strong." Zhou Fu shook his head. "You're wrong. It's not that I'm strong. I'm not strong at all. It's just that you're too weak." "Don't you think so, Steward Niu?" Blood-red light spots flew out of Zhou Fu's body and rushed toward the black fog. Puff, puff. After a series of impacts, the black fog dissipated quite a bit. The face behind the black fog was also revealed. It was the steward of the giant whale, Niu Wanqing. Chapter 218. Niu Wanqing's face was deathly pale and his eyes were filled with a thick black color. Only his pupils were still suffused with a faint white light. "You know it's me?" Niu Wanqing was very surprised that Zhou Fu was able to see through his identity. He quickly recalled his recent behavior when he saw Zhou Fu. He thought that he did not give himself away, so how was he discovered? With regards to this, ever since Zhou Fu cultivated the great Sun Tru Qi, he would be able to sense the cold and gloomy energy approaching him. Especially after he established a connection with the immovable wisdom King Dharma idol and condensed martial force, he became very sensitive to his surroundings. Therefore, when he saw Niu Wanqing in the restaurant that day, Zhou Fu had a feeling in his heart and secretly paid attention to this person. Before Niu Wanqing could wait for Zhou Fu's reply, the surrounding dark environment began to shake violently. Streaks of fiery red light faintly shone down from the sky. "What is this?" Niu Wanqing's tone began to panic. He widened his dark eyes and looked above. Boom, boom, boom. Violent explosions sounded. The thick black fog above the two people's heads was like boiling water, crazily tumbling. Seeing this scene, Zhou Fu sighed in his heart. It seemed that the things he had arranged outside had also been activated. In other words, the outside was also under attack. Before he came to the valley, he had privately instructed all those who cultivated fire attribute cultivation methods to set fire if they found something wrong. Whether it was wild beasts or ghosts, they were all subconsciously afraid of fire. Zhou Fu said, "Among the people who came with me, There are 2 blood-changing realm cultivators who cultivate fire attribute cultivation method. Now, are you going to surrender or be beaten down by me and then be captured? Niu Wanqing turned to look at Zhou Fu and laughed harshly. Surrender? Ha 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 ha. A pitch-black claw stretched out from the black fog and black flames appeared on his palm. After the black flames appeared, the surrounding air also slightly distorted. For the sake of strength, I've become like this, neither human nor ghost. You want me to surrender? You're only at the bone forging stage. No matter how strong you are, you're still bone forging. Today, I'll show you what true strength is. True strength. The pitch-black claws suddenly slashed down towards Zhou Fu, and several black flames rushed towards him. Zhou Fu suddenly felt uneasy. He pulled out his saber and slashed repeatedly. Puff, puff. The saber radiance collided with the black flame. The black flame flickered a few times, and its volume shrank by a third. It burned the saber light and then continued to pounce on Zhou Fu. My black flames are not ordinary flames. I want to see you scream miserably as you burn into a pile of ashes. Niu Wanqing said hatefully. Seeing that the saber light had been extinguished, Zhou Fu did not continue to resist. Instead, he dodged and retreated. It wasn't easy to find a monster with low strength and intelligence. He had to carefully observe such a high-quality research material. Bang bang bang! The black fire landed on the ground and instantly burned a few holes in the demonic fog floating on the surface of the ground. What was even more strange was that the black fire did not extinguish. It continued to burn. Niu Wanqing saw Zhou Fu's surprised expression and laughed. Flames gathered on his pitch-black claws again. Don't be surprised. This black fire could burn a person's bones into ashes. You'll feel it soon. After saying that, he waved his hand and threw out another flame. If pure inner force can't extinguish the black fire, can the blood-colored inner force of the demonic whale-killing fist? The long saber in Zhou Fu's hand turned blood-red in the blink of an eye. In a trance, the surrounding air began to be filled with the smell of blood. Swoosh! Blood flashed. 2 blood-red saber radiance slashed out. Bang! After the saber radiance and the black flame collided, it instantly exploded. The shattered black sparks were blown away by the inner force. The power of the blood-colored inner force just happened to cancel out the black flame. In other words, the quality of the black flame is lower than the Great Sun True Qi and Wisdom King Scripture. While Zhou Fu was still calculating, Niu Wanqing panicked. How can it be? How can it be? My black fire burned more than 10 bone-forging realm cultivators to death. They couldn't resist it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Niu Wanqing roared. His black pupils were filled with madness. A pair of pitch-black claws kept waving, throwing out balls of black fire. Seeing Niu Wanqing's appearance, Zhou Fu frowned. The long saber in his hand extinguished the black fire that was pouncing towards him. This trash only knows how to throw black fire? Zhou Fu was very disappointed. At this moment, Zhou Fu felt something in his heart. The floating black fog on the ground quickly retracted. Boom! After a series of explosions, the black fog that enveloped Niu Wanqing and Zhou Fu collapsed. The light from the fire outside shone in. The people inside also saw the scenery outside. Sir, are you all right? Zhou Fu shook his head. I'm fine. What about you? A guard replied, We're fine. A few of our brothers are injured. Hearing that someone was injured, Zhou Fu asked, What's going on? A lot of monsters suddenly rushed out. At first, our brothers didn't react. 5 or 6 of them were injured. Now the situation has stabilized. On the periphery, there were dozens of gray monsters that were fighting with the guards Zhou Fu brought. Niu Wanqing's face was gloomy. He stared at Zhou Fu and said hatefully, Zhou Fu, you're lucky today. We have a long future ahead of us. Just wait and see. As soon as his voice fell, he let out a strange sound and turned around to flee. Roar! The gray monsters suddenly went crazy and desperately attacked the guards' line of defense. Niu Wanqing had just turned around when his vision suddenly turned black. Puff! A huge force exploded on his face, bringing his body crashing to the ground. Zhou Fu looked at his left hand helplessly, then looked at the saber in his right hand and sighed. It's too convenient. I wanted to use armor-breaking saber. Come, tie this thing up. Yes. Zhou Fu tapped his foot and jumped into the air. A blood-red light bloomed and a saber light slashed down. Boom, boom, boom. The saber light smashed down and exploded in the group of monsters. The violent blood-red internal strength caused great damage to those monsters. After one attack, there were only 12 or 13 monsters left out of the original 40 or 50 monsters, and all of them were injured. Quickly deal with it and then check the village. Zhou Fu ordered and left in a flash. Where is he? Zhou Fu asked. The guard quickly said, Sir, this way. While leading the way, he said, We've made an empty room and locked the monster inside. Someone is keeping an eye on it right now. Coming to a remote room, Zhou Fu saw Niu Wanqing who was tied up. Zhou Fu walked in front of him and asked, Tell me what you know. Niu Wanqing snapped, In your dreams. Kill me if you have the guts. Zhou Fu nodded and pointed out a finger. The blazing great sun chi rushed into Niu Wanqing's arm, and a heart-wrenching scream sounded. The great sun chi clashed violently with the energy in Niu Wanqing's body, tearing at the surrounding muscles and tissues, causing him unbearable pain. About 30 seconds later, the great sun chi was completely worn down by Niu Wanqing. Looking at the panting Niu Wanqing, Zhou Fu raised his hand and pressed it on Niu Wanqing's head. Waves of great sun chi washed over him like a shower. At this moment, Niu Wanqing was like a fish on land, twitching his body. Slowly, cracks appeared on the surface of Niu Wanqing's body, and a black liquid began to seep out from them. Puff! A blood vessel burst, and a large amount of black blood spurted out. Zhou Fu let go of Niu Wanqing's head and raised his hand. The great sun chi gathered in his palm, making it look like a piece of red-hot iron. Then, he pressed down on the area where Niu Wanqing's blood vessel burst. Sizzle! White smoke rose into the air, accompanied by a burning smell. This scene made the two guards in the room look as if they had seen a ghost. They looked at Zhou Fu with fear in their eyes. This punishment was too cruel, and it made them feel as if they had experienced it themselves. Zhou Fu also noticed the abnormality in the guard. He said, You two can leave now. The two guards felt as if they had been pardoned, and quickly left the room. After the door closed, Zhou Fu stared at Niu Wanqing and asked, Can you talk now? The intense pain almost suffocated Niu Wanqing. After a while, he regained the ability to speak. Although the pain had subsided, his body was still trembling. Hearing Zhou Fu's question, he said in a trembling voice, I'll talk, I'll talk, I'll talk. Zhou Fu nodded. He moved a chair over and placed it in front of Niu Wanqing. After sitting down, he said, Speak, I'm listening. Niu Wanqing said, Actually, when I went to the village outside the city to investigate that day, I didn't run away. Instead, I was caught by the black flame. According to Niu Wanqing's information, not only did the flame not kill him, but it also gave him strength, allowing him to break through from the first level of the bone-forging realm to the second level of the bone-forging realm. It also promised that if Niu Wanqing brought it 50 bone-forging realm cultivators, it would help him break through to the next level. Not only that, as long as Niu Wanqing brought more experts, he could continue to break through. Of course, this kind of breakthrough also had a price. It was that he would become neither human nor ghost. In the beginning, Niu Wanqing did it to survive. Later, when he gained strength, he began to crave more. He constantly brought food to the flame. Although the quality was not enough, he used quantity to make up for it. That strange flame did not let Niu Wanqing's efforts down. Not only did it help him adapt to his new strength, but it also taught him new martial arts and guided Niu Wanqing's cultivation. After his cultivation was successful, it also taught Niu Wanqing two powerful techniques. One was to transform ordinary people into ghosts to help Niu Wanqing. He used this method to transform all the farmers in the manor and the gang members in the encampment. He also prepared to make a move on the Red Sea gang, but it was too late. Zhou Fu had returned, so he set his mind on Zhou Fu. The other was the black fire that he had used to attack Zhou Fu. According to the flame, even if someone at the blood transformation realm encountered the black fire, they would feel a headache. As for those at the blood transformation realm, they would kill anyone they saw. After Niu Wanqing tried it, it was as the flame had said. Once the black fire came out, it was invincible. That was until he met Zhou Fu. What's that flame? When he heard Niu Wanqing repeatedly mention that ball of flame, he was very curious. This? I don't know. Every time I see it, it's a black flame. It's similar to the black fire I use, but it's not the same. Zhou Fu nodded and asked again, where's the flame? Niu Wanqing was silent for a moment. When he saw Zhou Fu raise his hand, he subconsciously trembled and hurriedly said, it's just above the valley. Follow the river and walk for about 2 hours. There's a small burned town there. The black fire is in there. 4 hours? After calculating the distance, Zhou Fu felt that it was a little far. He didn't want to go, so he asked, how do you communicate with it? Every full moon night, we meet in a stone temple not far from the valley. Full moon night? Zhou Fu thought for a while and realized that he didn't know how to count the days. When's the next time? 5 days later. Zhou Fu struck out with his palm, and a scorching hot inner strength entrenched itself within Niu Wanqing's body. As long as Zhou Fu willed it, the inner strength would explode, and Niu Wanqing would be blasted into a pile of minced meat. Then I'll let you live for another 5 days. Niu Wanqing was silent. He was struggling in his heart. Killing him directly was fine. Waiting for death was even more torturous. 5 days later, Zhou Fu let the guards rest in the valley below the mountain. He brought Niu Wanqing to the so-called stone temple. Although it was called a temple, it was actually 4 walls made of stone. Then, facing the door, there was a stone platform with a broken stone statue on it. Seeing this thing in the depths of the forest was a little scary. The moon was high in the sky. A black shadow flashed from the depths of the forest and arrived at the stone temple. The black shadow constantly swayed. It didn't seem to be human. You're early. Saying this, it turned its gaze to Zhou Fu. He's the one you brought this time? He looks young, but aren't there too few of them? Niu Wanqing looked at the silent Zhou Fu. He made up his mind and said quickly, he's Zhou Fu, the giant whale's external affairs emissary. He's at the 2nd level of the bone-forging realm and can kill the black fire. He threatened me to bring him here. Silence. Silence. The wind in the forest shook the branches and the leaves rustled. Ha 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 ha. A burst of wild laughter came from the black fire. After a long time it said, Zhou Fu? You want to see me? Now that you've seen me, what do you want to do next? Zhou Fu said, I want to know what kind of thing you are. Things? Its voice turned cold, and its tone was filled with anger. We're not things. If you want a title, you can respectfully call me Lord Blackfire. Zhou Fu sneered, Blackfire, right? You and this Niu Wanqing secretly slaughtered the giant whale's men. If you know what's good for you, come with me now. Blackfire's tone became strange, you're so young. Why don't you think before you speak? Chapter 219. Zhou Fu smiled and said, You'll know soon enough. As soon as he finished speaking, his palm energy burst forth. With a bang, Niu Wanqing suddenly exploded. Streaks of orange flames rushed out from Niu Wanqing's body. In an instant, the entire stone temple was lit up by the flames. Whoosh! A cold light appeared. A blood-red blade light whizzed out from the sparks. You don't know your place. Blackfire snorted. In an instant, a bone-piercing chill spread out from Blackfire. A layer of frost condensed on the ground around it in the blink of an eye. Then, a streak of black light collided with the blood-red blade light. Boom! The blade light was shattered, and the black light continued to hit Zhou Fu. Sure enough, Niu Wanqing only learned the basics. Seeing that his blade light had been shattered, Zhou Fu did not care. The blood-red light on the blade became more intense as he swung his blade down. A blood-red blade light that was 1/2 meter wide and 2 meters long whizzed out. Boom! Zhou Fu frowned and dodged. Boom! As soon as he landed and stabilized himself, a large hole appeared where he was standing. A few pieces of gravel flew over and rolled around his feet. Black Fire smiled viciously and said, "Don't tell me you think I'm the same trash as before? If that's the case, you're going to die today." 2 streaks of black light rushed toward Zhou Fu again. It looked like they were going to smash Zhou Fu into pieces. The demonic whale-killing fist is still lacking. Zhou Fu sighed and said, "No, it seems like the demonic whale-killing fist is an incomplete chapter of a demonic technique. If I can get the full chapter, it might be even stronger than this black light." Zhou Fu's mind was spinning, but he did not stop. He kept moving around and tried to use the inner strength of the demonic whale-killing fist to block the black light. He even used the method of firefly and summoned the shadow of the demonic whale. However, the effect was not ideal. It was shattered by the black light. Looking at Zhou Fu, who kept dodging his attacks, Black Fire smiled and said, "All right, little monkey. I'm tired now. It's time to send you on your way. Don't worry, it won't hurt." Black Fire's figure flickered and turned into 2, then into 4. In the blink of an eye, 8 black fires had surrounded Zhou Fu. Black light flashed under the moonlight. 8 black flames attacked at the same time. 16 pillars of light enveloped Zhou Fu. Rumble! With a loud bang, the violent airflow tore the surrounding trees apart. "It's over. Sigh, what a pity. Although Niu Wanqing is a complete trash, he still did a lot of things for me. Unfortunately, it seems like I'll have to find another subordinate." The 7 figures faded and finally disappeared, leaving behind only 1 figure. Before turning around, Black Fire had a sudden impulse and subconsciously looked in the direction of the thick smoke. Black Fire was stunned by what he saw. What is that?" A feeling that made his heart palpitate came from the dust. Then, a gust of wind blew away the dust, revealing Zhou Fu standing in the deep pit, unharmed. "You're actually fine?" Black Fire roared in a surprised and uncertain tone. He could not believe that there was actually someone who could take his terrifying attack head-on. Zhou Fu ignored Black Fire in the air, and looked at the long saber in his hand. "Good stuff. I've already thought about how to apologize to the old man when I go back. I didn't expect this long saber to be intact. It seems that the old man still has a lot of things to tell me." After muttering to himself, his gaze shifted from the long saber to Black Fire. The faint smile on his face made Black Fire tremble violently and flee in a flash. What a joke! He was no match for someone who could remain intact after that kind of attack. Since he was no match for him, running was the right thing to do. Zhou Fu looked at Black Fire's fleeing figure and took a deep breath. With a tap of his foot, he suddenly chased after him as if riding the wind. It's time to test the effect of integrating Flying Dragon with Adamantine Battle Body. Previously, after listening to Ding Ho's notes, he had begun to consciously integrate his martial arts and tried to balance them. The Flying Dragon's movement was one of the key martial arts that Zhou Fu was trying to integrate. As his figure changed, the distance between Zhou Fu and Black Fire was constantly closing. After discovering this situation, Black Fire became anxious. Black pillars of light bombarded him, and because of the attack, his speed also decreased. 5 minutes later, Zhou Fu arrived behind Black Fire. He first slashed out with his saber. A dazzling platinum light like the sun in the sky cut through the night with a terrifying heat. "What is this?" Black Fire, who was cultivating the power of Yin, was shocked. Zhou Fu's attack was not like this. Boom! After He Guang dodged, the dazzling platinum-colored saber light chopped down 5 trees that were as thick as 3 people hugging each other before exploding. The heat of the sun swept all around, causing Black Fire's figure to sway again. At this moment, Zhou Fu arrived behind Black Fire. "Let me see what you are." The long saber slashed down. "Bastard!" Black Fire cursed angrily. A layer of black light emerged and enveloped him. Boom! Zhou Fu only felt the long saber in his hand shake. Under the blade, the layer of black light suddenly shattered. As for the Black Fire, it was slashed into the ground by Zhou Fu's blade. What a pity! If I used my fist, I would be able to break through it. Zhou Fu sighed again. He was not used to the long saber. His figure floated down. As soon as his toes touched the ground, a black rain of arrows came from the pit that Black Fire had smashed. "Oh? You still have the strength to resist?" Zhou Fu didn't dodge, allowing the attacks to land on his body. Clanging sounds could be heard as the attacks landed on him. Coming to the edge of the pit, Zhou Fu bent down, stretched out his right hand, and directly inserted it into the swaying Black Fire. "What the hell are you?" He grabbed back and forth with his right hand and really caught something. Ah! Amidst Black Fire's furious cries, Zhou Fu picked it up. "So you also have a real body. Quickly remove this thing." Zhou Fu swung his arm, and the Black Fire spun in circles in the air. After a few circles, he found that Black Fire was not obedient. Zhou Fu was unhappy. "You don't know what's good for you." He swung his right arm and slammed it down. Boom! The ground shook slightly and another pit appeared. Still not dispersing? The black flame was still wrapped around Black Fire. Zhou Fu picked it up again and slammed it down. Boom! Boom! After 5 consecutive hits, 5 more pits appeared on the ground. When Zhou Fu picked Black Fire up again, Black Fire's extremely frightened voice sounded. "Don't! I'll withdraw." The flame swayed and gradually faded. Zhou Fu frowned and subconsciously swung his arm, smashing Black Fire on a tree trunk. With the help of the moonlight, Black Fire, who had removed its disguise, was a 1-meter-tall short monster with reddish-brown skin and sharp teeth. He approached Black Fire with his saber and lifted his foot to step on it. He asked, "Where are you from?" Black Fire was stunned for a moment. It felt that the force from Zhou Fu's foot was getting stronger and stronger. It quickly said, "The Blazing Flame Race." The new term stunned Zhou Fu. The Blazing Flame Race? What's that? Zhou Fu was not insulting it, but he had never heard of it. Moreover, this name gave him a distant sense of familiarity that could be traced back to before he transmigrated. "In your language, our race is called the Blazing Flame Race." Zhou Fu nodded. It could be said that he had learned something new. "Do you have any accomplices?" Black Fire was silent for a moment. It did not want to answer, but it was afraid that Zhou Fu would continue to torture it. Therefore, it said, "I'm the only one left who escaped from the underground." "Why did you ask Niu Wanqing to bring you so many people?" "To restore my strength." Zhou Fu narrowed his eyes slightly and asked, "How do you restore it?" "Blood sacrifice." Just as Zhou Fu was about to continue asking, a shrill howl of the wind was heard, accompanied by a series of explosions. Zhou Fu turned his head abruptly, exerted force in his feet, and leaped backward. Boom! Just as Zhou Fu jumped away, a blue attack rushed out from the side of him. It smashed countless trees along the way and finally smashed into the place where Zhou Fu had been standing. Zhou Fu looked over and saw a straight passage appear. It was obviously created by the attack just now. At the other end of the passage, there was a man in black armor. When the smoke dissipated, there was a hole in the ground. In the middle of the hole, there was a long spear. As for Black Fire, it had been sent flying to a branch dozens of meters away. Black Fire turned its head to look in the direction of the armored man. It was overjoyed and shouted excitedly, "Sir, it's me. Save me." The armored man waved his hand at the long spear. The long spear suddenly shook and turned into a black light that fell into the armored man's hand. The man pointed the long spear at Zhou Fu. A low and cold voice sounded, "Kill!" Zhou Fu instantly felt something. The long saber in his hand suddenly slashed out, and a dazzling crescent-shaped saber light swept out. A powerful internal energy fluctuation suddenly erupted in the forest. 4 blue and black spear lights pierced the saber light. With a bang, the saber light shattered. It could not even block the spear light. Facing the 4 attacks, the long saber in Zhou Fu's hand once again burst out a white-gold light, and a heat wave swept in all directions. Kill! The long saber slashed horizontally. The 4 spears arrived. The saber and spear collided. Boom! 5 attacks exploded in an instant, and a powerful shock wave tore the ground. Even the thick trunks around were broken. Zhou Fu's expression changed. The huge force from his arm had shaken him back more than 10 meters, leaving 2 deep marks on the ground. Kill! After shaking off Zhou Fu, 4 figures appeared. They were also wearing black armor. However, the armor only covered some important parts. As for the arms and legs, it did not cover them. Not only that, but these people also wore gray masks. Judging from the texture, it should be a kind of metal. After the first attack, these 4 people did not stop. They shouted in unison, and the 4 spears once again rushed toward Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu took a deep breath. Pale golden lines outlined on the bones in his body, connecting his whole body in an instant. Kill! He stomped his feet and rushed toward the 4 people with his saber. Boom! 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 A series of explosions rang out, and the devastating shock wave destroyed everything in the surroundings. In just more than 10 seconds, Zhou Fu had slashed nearly 100 times. However, they were all blocked by the 4 people. Not only that, they were also fighting back while blocking. In a moment of carelessness, Zhou Fu's clothes were torn to shreds by the spears of the 4 men. Many white marks appeared on his skin. These were all caused by the spears of the 4 men. Although these attacks did not break through Zhou Fu's defense, the force that penetrated through still made Zhou Fu feel uncomfortable. Not only that, there was also a very cold force in the attacks, trying to slow down his movement. Bastard! Kill! After attacking for a long time, not only was there no effect, but he was also continuously attacked by the other party. This made Zhou Fu feel a little irritated. The 4 people opposite him did not panic when facing Zhou Fu, who had increased his strength again. They continued to cooperate with each other. 2 spears intercepted the attacks, while the other 2 attacked Zhou Fu from the side. Dang! 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 After dozens of moves, Zhou Fu felt helpless. This was the first time he felt that he was not strong enough. Don't panic. Calm down. He was used to smooth sailing. He did not expect that after encountering some setbacks, his heart would become chaotic. This was not good. Zhou Fu dodged 2 waves of attacks. Then, his figure flashed as he tried to rush into the enemy's group. As the saying goes, an inch longer, an inch stronger. A weapon like a spear could only display a terrifying attack power at a certain distance. If the distance was not enough, it would be difficult for such a long weapon to cause damage. It would easily become a burden. Zhou Fu wanted to make the enemy's spear lose its distance advantage. The other party also discovered Zhou Fu's intention. 2 of the 4 people retreated, and the spears in their hands stretched out like poisonous snakes. Zhou Fu blocked with his long saber and swept it. With the strength that could suppress 2 people, he swept away the incoming spears. At this time, he had already arrived in front of the other 2 people. Die! A cold killing intent appeared in Zhou Fu's eyes. The long saber in his hand shone with white light as he slashed down diagonally. The 2 people on the opposite side suddenly threw away their spears and pulled out 2 long sabers from their backs, blocking Zhou Fu's saber. Dang! Zhou Fu was about to pull out his saber when a resistance came. He looked sideways and found that his long saber was actually entangled by the 2 long sabers of the other party. He was stunned. The long saber could be used like this? Whoosh, whoosh. Two blue and black lights pierced from both sides. It was the two people who had just retreated. They attacked again. Good cooperation. Zhou Fu was so angry that he gritted his teeth. He could not retreat unless he did not want his long saber. So, he moved forward and narrowly avoided the two stabs. However, two kicks came from the front and interrupted Zhou Fu's plan. Bastard! Zhou Fu's eyes flashed fiercely. He stood up straight and resisted. Bang! The huge force caused Zhou Fu's body to sway. At the same time, it also stopped him from moving forward. Kill! Zhou Fu roared and his arm suddenly exerted force. With a whoosh, he pulled back his long saber. The long saber stuck to his arm and his body turned sharply. Slash! Dang! This slash forced the two people who were blocking with their sabers to retreat. Just as Zhou Fu was about to give chase, two spears attacked again. Bastard, are you done yet? Chapter 220. The continuous setbacks made Zhou Fu angry, but he also felt a little helpless. Calm down. Calm down. Zhou Fu muttered a few times in his heart and slashed out. A crescent-shaped blade energy swept out. The four people opposite him attacked at the same time and dispersed the blade energy once again. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Zhou Fu dodged and distanced himself. He stared at the four figures opposite him and calculated in his heart. I can suppress two of them, but the other three are on par with me. Four of them can suppress me. This is indeed a little troublesome. As long as I have 3 seconds, I can kill two of them and then kill the other two. But how do I get these 3 seconds? Thinking of the cooperation of the four people, Zhou Fu sighed and admired them. At the same time, he also wanted this kind of joint attack technique. Using this to train subordinates must be very powerful. Just as Zhou Fu continued to think of a way, he saw the armored man on the other side from the corner of his eyes. Moreover, the other party seemed to have moved. Oh no. It's hard for me to fight against 4 people. The person covered in armor must be even more powerful. If he joins the battle again, I can only leave. Zhou Fu was unwilling to return empty-handed. He had been busy for so long and was about to reap the energy. However, he was stopped by these strange people in front of him. How could he be willing to accept this? If this doesn't work, I can only fight head-on. Zhou Fu, who originally wanted to outsmart them, made up his mind. In this situation, there was no need to outsmart them. Kill them head-on. Otherwise, there would be no soup to drink. After making up his mind, Zhou Fu suddenly rushed out. Golden lines appeared on his body. Kill. When the golden light appeared, the reaction of the 4 people seemed to be a beat slower. This also gave Zhou Fu a chance to close in. In the golden light of the blade, there was a blazing inner strength. This was the great Sun True Qi, supported by martial force. The light of the blade slashed horizontally and shook off 2 long blades with a bang. Zhou Fu ignored the 2 long spears and slashed again with the long blade in his hand. Amidst the explosion, the armors of the 2 opponents shattered. With a sweep of his gaze, Zhou Fu's heart shook. Under the armor, how could there be people? They were clearly shriveled corpses that were suffused with a dark red glow. Bang bang! 2 long spears stabbed into Zhou Fu's shoulders. Without the combined attack of the 4 people, just the 2 of them would not be able to stop him. Kill. The long blade was raised, and in a trance, the Akalanatha Dharma form also raised its right hand, and the golden sword from before turned into a long blade. Slash. Golden light shone. The blade swept across the sky. Boom. The saber light instantly tore the 2 corpses that had lost their armor into ashes. After the first strike, he didn't stop there. With 2 more strikes, he knocked away the spear that was aimed at his eyes. Just as Zhou Fu was about to chase after the remaining 2 mummies, 2 streams of cool energy suddenly surged into his body. His whole body felt like it was cheering, and even the stamina he had just expended was quickly replenished. Not only that, Zhou Fu also had a feeling that he was about to break through. Kill! This strike was different from the anger from before. Instead, it was filled with yearning for a breakthrough. Boom! The two spears flew up and down, constantly hitting the same spot. The two mummies fought and retreated, and soon, the saber light was shattered. Seeing that the first strike did not work, Zhou Fu slashed 2 more times. The violent attack did not leave any time for them to react. It directly shattered the weapons and armor of the two mummies, and even their 4 arms were torn apart by the saber light. Without protection, the half-crippled mummies were just monsters that provided experience. The saber light shone even brighter. Kill! The golden saber light slashed down, and the two mummies were about to be torn into pieces. At this moment, a violent wave came, and the cold killing intent made Zhou Fu's forehead feel cold. He hurriedly twisted his body, and the long saber in his hand changed direction. Boom! A large spear pierced through the air, and directly sent Zhou Fu flying. Bang bang bang! After breaking 4 trees along the way, Zhou Fu smashed onto the ground. What a heavy blow! After landing, he quickly stood up and looked in front of him solemnly. Seeing the blue spear coming again, Zhou Fu did not hesitate. He threw the long saber to the ground and rushed out. Facing an opponent who was about the same level as him, if he still used an unfamiliar fighting method, it was no different from courting death. At this time, he no longer hid the special effect of adamantine battle body. Golden lines appeared on his skin, and at the same time, his eyes turned pure gold. Zhou Fu slammed his fist down, and the long spear pierced towards him. He stepped forward and rushed to the center line of the armored man. Just as he was about to punch, the other party kicked him. Boom! The fist and the foot collided. 2 figures flew back at the same time. After landing, Zhou Fu shook his wrist. The pain from his fist made him feel a little stunned. Unexpectedly, someone could hurt him in a one-on-one situation. It had been a long time since something like this happened. Moreover, he found that the other party's strength was actually on par with his. After the armored man stabilized himself, he jumped up again. The long spear in his hand glowed with a blue light, sprinkling ice crystals along the way. The golden light on Zhou Fu's body paused for a moment, and the great sun true qi in his body began to circulate. His inner strength circulated, and waves of heat came out of his body, colliding with the cold air. Between the two of them, a white mist rose. Zhou Fu snorted. Just as he was about to rush forward, the great sun true qi in his body slowed down. The cold air took advantage of the gap and broke through the heat wave, sprinkling ice crystals on the ground, and spread towards Zhou Fu. Seeing this, Zhou Fu sighed inwardly. It's still not enough. The fusion of great sun true qi, adamantine battle body, and force was very slow. Usually, when he did not fight, he could barely make the 3 complement each other. But now, when he fought, the drawbacks were exposed. Therefore, Zhou Fu made a prompt decision to give up the great sun true qi and let it run on its own. Kill! The golden fist suddenly smashed out, colliding with the tip of the spear. The expected head-on collision did not happen. After the punch, Zhou Fu felt his strength suddenly disappear. It was as if he had used all his strength to smash a ball of soft cotton. Not good! Looking at the spear tip, he saw that the spear had bent into a large arc. Under the armored man's mask, 2 blue lights flashed. The great spear suddenly straightened, shaking off Zhou Fu's fist. A cold light flashed, and with a bang it touched Zhou Fu's shoulder. The sharp pain almost made Zhou Fu cry out. Not only that, the bone-piercing cold air penetrated through the spear tip, causing the strength in Zhou Fu's right arm to decrease by 40%. I can't retreat. At this moment, Zhou Fu made a decision. If he retreated, the armored man's attack would come at him like a tidal wave. Charge! Charge! Zhou Fu gritted his teeth, and the golden light on his body skyrocketed. At the same time, the Akala Dharma idol in his body also cooperated. A solemn and grand momentum slowly rose from Zhou Fu's body. Twisting his waist, his right shoulder suddenly slammed forward. At this time, the armored man suddenly pulled back his spear, and the spear in his hand smashed down, trying to block Zhou Fu's attack. Zhou Fu instantly found the armored man's abnormality, but he did not rush forward. Instead, he waved his fist to attack, and his feet steadily followed. Bang! 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 The fist shadows and the spear shadows continued to collide, and a burst of energy exploded. After exchanging blows for nearly 100 times, Zhou Fu's fist had already split open a few wounds, and blood was still slowly seeping out. Because the armored man had the support of his weapon, his strength was always a bit higher than Zhou Fu's, and he suppressed Zhou Fu by a bit. The great spear swept over again, and Zhou Fu's heart flashed. His right fist turned into a palm, and he tightly grasped the spear. "Got you!" Zhou Fu grinned, excitedly staring at the armored man, and waved his fist. The armored man was very experienced in fighting. When he saw Zhou Fu rushing over, he raised his leg and kicked. "I'll let you kick. Come and meet force with force." Zhou Fu was not to be outdone. His right leg covered in golden lines kicked out. Bang bang! The two figures swayed for a while, but neither of them let go of the spear. Zhou Fu stared at the armored man and chuckled. "So, your strength is not as good as mine. Have you thought about how you want to die?" Before he finished speaking, his right hand suddenly exerted force, and the armored man took 2 steps towards him. This gave Zhou Fu an opportunity to attack. He swung his fist, and the golden fist shadows whistled through the air, bombarding the armored man. Bang bang bang. The armored man was stunned by the series of attacks. "Bastard!" An angry voice came from under the helmet. He suddenly let go of the spear in his hand, and took the opportunity to retreat. Clang clang! The armored man held the long sword in his hand, and with a boundless chill, he chopped down at Zhou Fu's head. Zhou Fu, who had used too much force, was caught off guard and took 2 steps back. When he looked up again, the armored man's attack was already in front of him. He took the spear with both hands. Although he did not know how to use the spear, he could still use it as a stick. He held the spear horizontally in front of his body. A cold light flashed in the armored man's eyes, and the strength in his hand was reduced by 30%. He still cared about his weapon. Clang! After the sound of metal, the armored man retreated. The sudden change of opponent stunned Zhou Fu. He looked at the spear in his hand, and then looked at the armored man. He smiled. "So that's how it is. You care about this spear a lot." As he spoke, he waved the spear. "Shameless!" The voice behind the helmet was extremely angry. "Go to hell." A faint blue light appeared in the forest. A few unlucky trees were touched by the light and were cut in half. If one looked closely, they would see that the cut was as smooth as a mirror. The blue light seeped in, and the entire trunk slowly turned into ice crystals. The gorgeous moves made Zhou Fu a little envious, but he sighed in his heart. There's no point in being envious. Moves should be straightforward. The most important thing is to finish the battle quickly. What's the point of being flashy? Although he thought this, his hands did not stop. He used the spear as a stick and smashed it down at the armored man's face. The armored man roared. The long sword in his hand seemed to have turned into flowing water. The body of the sword was close to the spear, and the sharp blade was aimed at Zhou Fu's palm. Seeing the saber light coming down, Zhou Fu let go of the long spear and stepped on the long saber. However, a layer of frost fell on his shoulder. He came to the armored man's side, and his golden fist was like a cannonball, hitting the armored man's head. Boom! The armored man's long sword turned and blocked Zhou Fu's fist. With a burst of energy, the armored man was forced to retreat. Zhou Fu followed up, and his fists continued to bombard the armored man. He did not give the armored man a chance to breathe. "Bastard, you are courting death." After receiving more than 10 punches in a row, the armored man's armor was somewhat deformed. Suddenly, an extremely cold aura broke out. Zhou Fu's body was suddenly covered with a layer of ice crystals, making him look like an ice sculpture. The armored man's eyes became deeper. If I hadn't just woken up, how could I have been entangled by someone like you for so long? Gotcha. The sound of ice cracking rang out, and the armored man's eyes narrowed. He looked at Zhou Fu, who was frozen by him. He saw that cracks had appeared on the ice sculpture, and they were still expanding. Gotcha. Gotcha. Without waiting for the armored man to strike again, the ice sculpture exploded, and a golden fist came into view. Boom! With a loud bang, the armored man was sent flying. He crashed into two large trees and slid a few meters before coming to a stop. Looking at the golden lightning that had just dissipated from his armor, he looked at Zhou Fu. This power, sure enough, the improvement in battle is the fastest. At this time, Zhou Fu had already touched the threshold of the fusion of Wisdom King Scripture and Adamantine Battle Body in battle. He looked at the armored man. This armored man was more precious than the two experienced babies. It could speed up his fusion of martial arts. He said excitedly, again. A golden figure rushed over, and a golden fist came out of it. There was an inexplicable fluctuation lingering on it. Come on! The armored man was already angry. The long sword in his hand bloomed with a dark blue color, like the sea of the abyss. Tide summoning. The armored man slashed down, and the sword light turned into a tide. It rose high and then suddenly smashed down. The tide fell, and Zhou Fu was sent flying. When he landed, he was turned into an ice sculpture. Bang! After breaking out of the ice, he continued to rush toward the armored man. However, the armored man didn't give Zhou Fu a chance to get close. He only used the sword light to attack from a distance. Seeing that there was no effect, Zhou Fu looked at the armored man and said, "Stop. If we continue fighting like this, there won't be a result even if we fight until tomorrow." The armored man thought for a moment and nodded. "Stop." Zhou Fu walked a few steps to the side and picked up a long spear from the ground. It was the armored man's weapon. He looked at the armored man and asked, "We've been fighting for so long, but I still don't know your name." The armored man looked at the long spear and said, "Feng Xinghai of the Feng family fort. Give me back my weapon." "I can give it to you, but you have to leave Blackfire and the two mummies. Dream on. Continue fighting." Zhou Fu thought for a moment. "Leave Blackfire. That's the bottom line. Otherwise, we'll continue fighting." Feng Xinghai thought for a moment and said, "I'll give you the two mummies. Blackfire is out of the question. If you agree, then trade. If not, then forget it." Trade. Feng Xinghai held the long spear in one hand and Blackfire in the other. He looked at Zhou Fu and said, "The next time we meet, we'll fight to the death." After that, he turned and left. Zhou Fu sneered. "You don't even have meat. Fight to the death? TSK." Chapter 221. After Feng Xinghai left, Zhou Fu punched out, and golden light shot out in all directions. With a boom, the two zombie guards exploded. Zhou Fu didn't mind the chaotic battlefield. He sat cross-legged on the ground and absorbed the cool energy around him. He closed his eyes slightly, and his body emitted waves of golden light. This light was very gentle, but also somewhat dignified. Suddenly, Zhou Fu's body shook. He opened his eyes and spat out a mouthful of black blood. This was an internal injury left behind from the battle with Feng Xinghai. It had to be said that the other party's strength was really abnormal. I finally broke through. Bone forging third realm, even if I didn't break through the barrier, it still took me more than a month. How did those people in the body refining hall cultivate? Zhou Fu was very curious about this. The higher the physical strength, the more energy needed for each breakthrough. His own cultivation speed was so fast, and it was basically supported by the support. In the body refining hall, there must have been people with stronger bodies than him. So, how did those people cultivate? Did they rely on time to grind? How long would he have to grind? Forget it, I'll go back first. If there's a chance in the future, I'll investigate the body refining hall. Zhou Fu shook his head, suppressing the doubts in his heart. He consolidated his somewhat unstable inner breath after the breakthrough, then got up and left. In the forest, Zhou Fu still maintained the fusion of the Wisdom King scripture and the adamantine battle body, and tried to integrate the flying dragon's 5 zigzags. Zhou Fu cultivated as he hurried along. Because the feeling of enlightenment was still there, Zhou Fu's speed of improvement was also very fast. He only took 2 hours to get out of the forest on a journey that would have taken him 4 hours. If he continued forward, there was less than an hour's journey, and he would be able to return to the valley. However, the moment he stepped out of the forest, Zhou Fu suddenly stopped in his tracks. "Who is it? Come out!" A furious roar came from Zhou Fu's mouth. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Several figures jumped out from the darkness and surrounded Zhou Fu. Black clothes and masks were standard equipment for assassins. After these black-clothed men appeared, they did not hesitate. One of them who was facing Zhou Fu spoke. "Zhou Fu, the karma of the past is the karma of today. Now is the time for you to pay your debt." These words made Zhou Fu raise his eyebrows. He felt very strange in his heart. When did he have an enemy? In his impression, he didn't have any enemies. The only one he had a conflict with was the current leader of Giant Whale, Xinggang. Listening to the words of this person in front of him, this was no longer a conflict, but a grudge. Zhou Fu asked, "Before you start, can you tell me who you are? I don't remember having a death feud with anyone." The black-clothed man snorted coldly. "You're about to die. Why do you know so much?" "Die." A platinum-colored radiance blossomed, and streaks of sharp sword chi instantly tore apart the ground beneath the black-clothed man's feet. Even the air around him began to shake. Whoosh! The platinum-colored sword chi pointed directly at Zhou Fu's chest. After the other 3 saw their leader make a move, they also activated their technique. For a moment 2 red and 1 green radiance shot out in all directions. Zhou Fu, who was standing in the middle of the attack, shook his head and sighed. "Sigh, I used to think that I was special until I met someone who made me realize that I wasn't special. In other words, I was at an ordinary level. However, your appearance has shaken this idea that had just sprouted in my mind." He looked directly at the incoming attack, and his voice turned cold. "In the end, you're still too weak. I'm still special." Before he finished speaking, he faced the oncoming platinum-colored sword chi with a punch. It was this inconspicuous punch that caused the sharp platinum-colored sword chi to instantly shatter. The long sword that was thrusting towards him was also shattered into powder inch by inch. Bang! The black-clothed man's charging figure suddenly stopped, as if he had crashed into an extremely hard wall. A fierce force surged through the fist, and from the point of contact to the surface, it caused visible ripples. These ripples caused the black-clothed man's bones, meridians, and muscles to turn into mud. With its master dead, the platinum-colored sword chi rapidly dissipated, revealing the figure that was floating in the air. With a bang, the figure exploded into a bloody mist that filled the sky. The sudden turn of events shocked the 3 people who were charging over. However, Zhou Fu did not stop. With a flash of his feet, he appeared in front of the black-clothed man on the right, who was emitting a fiery red glow. His fist smashed down again. No. This person instantly reacted. He seemed to be weaker than the person who had just died. Facing Zhou Fu's attack, he cried out in horror. He desperately activated his cultivation technique in an attempt to block the descending fist. However, it was useless. Under his desperate gaze, the barrier that he had condensed shattered like glass. Bang! A bloody mist filled the air and another person died. "The 2 of you try this punch together." Golden veins instantly crawled all over Zhou Fu's body. With a step, the ground collapsed, and pieces of soil and gravel shot out in all directions. A golden fist shot up into the sky. "Run!" A roar filled with horror sounded under the night sky. The 2 remaining black-clothed men turned and ran. However, the golden fist broke through the air and arrived at a speed faster than the two of them. Between the two of them, the green-clothed man was extremely fast. He instantly pulled away from the other person. "You!" In the midst of the angry roar, the fist arrived. Bang! The smell of blood in the air became heavier. At this moment, there was only one black-clothed man left. "Since you're already here, why are you running?" Zhou Fu sneered, and his figure instantly rushed out. In the forest, Zhou Fu was like a swimming fish, shuttling back and forth between the branches. The distance between him and the black-clothed man was rapidly closing. "Stay!" Zhou Fu smashed his fist down. "No, spare my life. I know the information." When the fist landed, the domineering fist force exploded. The black-clothed man's body paused for a moment, and then exploded. Zhou Fu looked at his fist and shook his head. "What can the mastermind who sent out such an assassin do? He's just a piece of trash. If he comes again, I'll just kill him. Why would I go through so much trouble to find him? Seriously." After saying that, he looked into the depths of the dark forest and sneered. "Fortunately, I'm in a good mood today. Otherwise, I'll definitely chase after you and beat you all to death." After saying that, Zhou Fu rushed toward the valley. After returning to the valley, Zhou Fu washed up, changed into a new set of clothes, filled his stomach, and devoted himself to cultivation. Inspiration was something that could not be sought after. Since it had not disappeared for a long time, he had to work hard to grasp it. In the blink of an eye, 15 days later, Zhou Fu came out of seclusion. The fusion of the Wisdom King scripture and the adamantine battle body was progressing very quickly. In other words, combat could make a person grow rapidly. "The next time I meet that phone guy, I won't be as passive as the last time." Suppressing the joy in his heart, Zhou Fu called the guards over and asked them to pack up their things. They will return to Heiyang City today. Actually, there was nothing much to pack up here. Those villagers that they met previously were all turned into monsters by Niu Wanqing. That night, all the monsters were killed by Zhou Fu and the guards. Now there was no one left. The guards quickly packed up their things. Zhou Fu also sat on the carriage and swallowed a blood-yang pill. This was one of the pills he had in stock. In the shaky carriage, Zhou Fu started his cultivation. After returning home, Zhou Fu went to look for Zhou Ducai. When he came out of the room, Zhou Fu's eyes flashed. He felt an unusual wave in the room. It was familiar yet foreign. He felt a similar feeling from Xingfeng, but the person in the room was much weaker. Is this an extraordinary? If I can feel it, it should be a level 1 extraordinary. After some speculation, Zhou Fu opened the door and entered the room. Dad, I'm back. Zhou Ducai looked at Zhou Fu. A few days ago, he wanted to send a letter to Zhou Fu secretly, asking him not to come back. But he was being watched closely, and he didn't have the chance to do so. Now, after seeing Zhou Fu, he could only sigh in his heart. He hoped that his son's mental state would not be affected when he met with a setback. Then he thought of the old woman in the house. She had always disliked Zhou Ducai. Even after Zhou Fu was born, the old woman still disliked Zhou Fu. It really gave Zhou Ducai a headache. You're back? Is it done? Zhou Fu nodded and said, It's done. I'm going to rest at home for half a month before going back. Half a month? Yes, there are still a lot of things waiting for me to do. But don't worry, Dad, I'll be able to bring you over in a year's time. Zhou Ducai smiled, but he felt a lot worse. Because he knew that he couldn't walk out of Heiyang City. It's good that you have the heart. I'm used to staying at home. Once I go out, I won't be able to take it. Zhou Fu smiled too. He could guess what was going on, but he wasn't afraid. With his current cultivation speed, even if he didn't reach extraordinary, he would definitely reach the peak of blood changing in a year's time. It's okay, Dad, you'll know when you try it. You'll get used to it. Zhou Fu smiled and shook his head. There was still a year's time. So what if he promised Zhou Fu first? After all, it was his son's filial piety. But before he could say anything, A cold old lady's voice came from the back hall. Your dad won't be able to walk out of Haeong City. Two silhouettes walked out. The one walking in front was an old woman dressed in black. Her face was wrinkled, her hair was silver, and her small eyes flashed with a cold light. Following behind the woman was the woman in black whom Zhou Fu had used a trick on earlier. Seeing the two of them, Zhou Fu wasn't surprised. After he reached the third level of bone tempering, with the help of pills and the art of spring wind and rain, he had stabilized his cultivation. He was halfway through the third level. Encountering a level 1 extraordinary expert at such a young age, his body must have already started to age. He still wanted to test his own strength. Therefore, Zhou Fu sneered, "Old thing, you're finally willing to come out. If you didn't, I would have thought that my dad was keeping an extraordinary tortoise in the house." Zhou Ducai was stunned. The old lady was stunned. They didn't expect Zhou Fu to be so dumb. The first one to react was the woman in black. She took a step forward and pointed at Zhou Fu. She shouted, "You!" Zhou Fu glanced at her coldly and said, "You're just a servant. You don't have the right to speak." With a thought, the inner force in the woman in black exploded. The woman in black's expression changed. A familiar feeling came from her body. She instantly recalled the miserable situation back then. She quickly screamed, "Sir, save me!" As soon as she said that, the woman in black fell to the ground and rolled around in pain. Her hands were scratching her body. She looked extremely miserable. Zhou Fu rose to his feet. Accompanied by bursts of golden light, he leaped to the front of the old woman and smashed his fist, which was flashing with wisps of golden lightning. "Old thing, let me see what the extraordinary level is like." Zhou Ducai also reacted. Looking at his son, he didn't feel good. At the same time, he was also suspicious. Were all the young people nowadays so arrogant? Didn't he say he was still at bone forging? He clearly knew the other party was extraordinary. Suddenly, Zhou Ducai realized something was wrong. How did Zhou Fu know that the old lady was extraordinary? Not only that, he even accurately said the other party's level. Was this something a bone-breaking level 2 could say? Thinking until here, Zhou Ducai's beating heart gradually calmed down. He also made up his mind. I'll watch first. If it really doesn't work out, I'll throw away my face and beg for leniency. The old lady's name was Chai Rong. She was a veteran extraordinary level 1. She didn't experience many battles, but it wasn't few either. She was somewhat pampered. Seeing Zhou Fu take the initiative to make a move, she couldn't help but laugh. What a disrespectful little thing. Today, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of your father. Chai Rong's clothes moved without wind. Her silver hair instantly turned black. A white jade-like palm struck out from her wide sleeve. Boom! The fist and palm collided. At this moment, the whole room shook. Zhou Ducai, who was watching the show from the side, had a change in expression. He roared, "Go out and fight, this place will collapse." After speaking, he was the first to run out. After Zhou Fu's punch, he turned around and retreated. Feeling the slight pain on his fist, he grinned. "Extraordinary? Go out and fight." His figure flashed and disappeared from the room. Chai Rong was stunned on the spot. Her expression kept changing. After hearing Zhou Fu's words, she clenched her teeth and also rushed out in a flash. On the empty ground, Zhou Fu coldly looked at Chai Rong. "You old thing want to teach me a lesson on behalf of my father? Then let me see if you have the ability or not. Watch my fist." Although Chai Rong was old, he was also hot-tempered. He was provoked by Zhou Fu's few words that didn't hurt him, and he was burning with anger. Good, good, good. Little thing that doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Today, I'll let you see what is heaven. What is earth? After speaking, Chai Rong's entire body was suffused with a milky white radiance. It was somewhat similar to the color of suet jade under the sun. She flipped both of her palms. Her arms flickered with white light. She attacked from below and shot up to the sky. Chapter 222. Zhou Fu's entire body glowed with golden light. The golden veined pattern on his face was particularly conspicuous. His fist that was suffused with lightning ruthlessly smashed onto Chai Rong's palm. Boom! After one punch, another punch arrived. A pair of golden fists were like mortars, attacking frantically. Chai Rong was not to be outdone. No matter what, this Zhou Fu's strength was astonishing, but his cultivation was still in the bone-tempering realm. She was in the exuvia realm. Facing the attack of a bone-tempering realm, of course she wouldn't dodge. She waved both of her palms to welcome the attack. Exuvia realm is not something a little scoundrel like you can understand. Break for me. After exchanging close to 100 moves, Chai Rong's palms were in pain. This also made the fury in her heart even more frantic. If today's matter were to spread out, how would her old face be able to meet people in the future? As a result, she steeled her heart. Her right palm suddenly emitted a glaring white light. She directly struck towards Zhou Fu's chest. This palm seemed to have penetrated through the air. It instantly appeared in front of Zhou Fu's chest. Without waiting for him to react, that palm already pressed down. Bang! The white light exploded. A powerful impact force exploded on Zhou Fu's chest. For a moment, Zhou Fu felt the qi and blood in his body shaking. It was as if he was hit by a sledgehammer. His entire person was stupefied. Just at this time, a cool feeling exploded in between his eyebrows. It instantly woke up the somewhat dazed Zhou Fu. "Old thing!" Zhou Fu bellowed. His right fist turned into a claw. With a twist of his wrist, he firmly hooked Chai Rong's arm and brought her to the ground. Boom! A burst of smoke and dust rose into the air. Zhou Ducai, who was watching at the side, was stunned. "My goodness, my son is so fierce?" Within the smoke and dust, another burst of fighting sound transmitted. The energy that rolled out dispersed the smoke and dust in the surroundings in a short while. Zhou Fu's hair was disheveled. His expression was sinister. His right hand was like an iron hook. It had already pierced into Chai Rong's slender arm. Dark red blood flowed along his fingers unceasingly. His free left hand kept smashing at Chai Rong. He didn't dodge Chai Rong's attacks and relied on his adamantine battle body to hold on. "Old thing, you're really useless. With this little bit of strength, you can't even compare to Feng Xinghai." Chai Rong, who was bombarding Zhou Fu, was stunned when he heard this name. The name Feng Xinghai was like a bolt of lightning, instantly triggering the memories in her mind. Who? Feng Xinghai? Impossible, he died long ago. Chai Rong stared fixedly at Zhou Fu and screamed in shock. Looking at Chai Rong's intense reaction, Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. This old thing knew Feng Xinghai? However, his hands didn't stop moving. He was still attacking madly. I didn't say he was alive. Just as Chai Rong was distracted, tiny bolts of golden lightning penetrated deep into the wound on her arm. As the quantity accumulated, the electric light suddenly gathered together. Like a sharp arrow, it followed the meridians in Chai Rong's arm and suddenly rushed into his body. The sudden change caused Chai Rong to suddenly wake up. She hurriedly mobilized the inner strength in her body to counterattack. However, this kind of golden lightning was very powerful. After meeting the opponent's inner strength, it turned into a rope. One end was inserted into the wall of the meridians, and the other end was wrapped around the inner strength. What the hell is this? After the inner strength was blocked, Chai Rong panicked. She could feel that her arm was gradually losing its ability to fight. If she didn't handle this situation well, she would be defeated today. Little bastard, I'm going to kill you today. Under the impact of anger and panic, Chai Rong no longer held back. The dazzling white light from before quickly shrank and condensed on her left hand. Her eyes revealed a cold and crazy gaze. Like a sharp sword, she stabbed towards Zhou Fu. Kill! Her left hand slapped on Zhou Fu's chest. On the other side, Zhou Fu saw this and knew that it was not good. However, it was too late to stop the other party. He looked at Zhou Fu and his heart suddenly jumped. At this time, after seeing Chai Rong's madness, Zhou Fu was also secretly careful. Especially after seeing the changes in the opponent's moves. He fully activated the adamantine battle body. For a moment, his whole body seemed to be cast in gold. Boom! After the roar, Zhou Fu looked at Chai Rong with a grimace. At this time, Chai Rong was stunned. "You are actually fine?" Zhou Fu exhaled. The previous attack was indeed powerful. At this time, the bones in his chest were still hurting. However, that was it. "You're really too weak compared to Feng Xinghai." At this time, he had completely understood Chai Rong's strength. His opportunity to attack had come. "Get down!" After shouting angrily, Zhou Fu's right arm suddenly exerted force and threw Chai Rong into the ground. Zhou Fu also jumped down and jumped into the hole that Chai Rong had created. He punched with his fist. With the support of the Wisdom King Scripture's vibration characteristics, his powerful strength passed through Chai Rong's internal energy and shook his opponent's internal organs violently. Although Zhou Fu's strength was mostly offset by Chai Rong's internal energy, some of it still penetrated. If one punch was not enough, then 10 punches. If 10 punches were not enough, then 100 punches. As the ground continued to shake, Zhou Fu attacked crazily. Crack! The sound of bones breaking was heard. Chai Rong's eyes widened and he spat out a mouthful of blood. "Old thing, where's your arrogance?" Seeing his opponent like this, Zhou Fu stopped. He picked up Chai Rong with one hand and jumped out of the hole that was half a person's height. "Fu, what are you going to do to her?" Zhou Ducai walked up. Although he was extremely shocked, he still asked about Chai Rong first. After all, this old woman was involved in too many things. If he did not handle it well, it would be very troublesome. "What do you think?" Zhou Fu thought for a moment. Seeing Zhou Ducai's appearance, he understood in his heart that this person could not be killed. Therefore, he slapped Chai Rong's chest and injected his internal energy. Puff! Chai Rong's body twitched twice and he spat out another mouthful of blood. Zhou Fu swung his hand and threw Chai Rong out. "Just like that woman in black. Plant a restriction. In the future, I'll have an obedient dog." Hearing Zhou Fu's words, Chai Rong's eyes rolled back and he fainted. She had been proud for most of her life. She did not expect that in Zhou Fu's words, she would become a dog. How could she accept this? Zhou Ducai sighed. His mood was somewhat complicated. His son had been out for less than a year, and when he came back, he actually taught Chai Rong a lesson. Moreover, from what that kid said, he had even fought with Feng Xinghai. He really could not accept it. "Come out!" Zhou Fu turned his head and shouted in the direction of the room. The woman in black trembled as she walked out of the room. When she saw Chai Rong lying on the ground, she was so scared that she collapsed to the ground. "Take her down to treat her injuries and tell her how it feels to be planted with a restriction," Zhou Fu said coldly. The woman in black trembled all over. She lowered her head and said, "Yes." Zhou Fu turned his head and smiled at Zhou Ducai. "Father, let's talk somewhere else." "Sure." The two of them came to the pavilion in the garden and sat opposite each other. There were some tea and snacks on the table in the middle. "You've changed so much. You scared your father half to death just now." Zhou Fu smiled. At this moment, he was praised by Zhou Ducai. He was still very happy in his heart, but he still had to be modest. "It's okay. It's not that I'm strong, it's that they're too weak." Zhou Ducai was speechless. "I just praised you and you're already so arrogant?" No. Zhou Fu quickly denied. "It's really that they're too weak. Before, I also thought that I was a genius. Until a few days ago, I met Feng Xinghai. I have to say that person is really strong. I almost lost." When he said this, Zhou Fu was sincere. One had to know that he now had the Wisdom King Scripture and cultivated the Akala Wisdom King Dharma. Moreover, 3.5 of the body refining hall's 4 great divine techniques were in his hands. Not only that, he also obtained the great Sun True Chi. Every single one of these cultivation methods was a terrifying existence. Of course, there was also an incomplete demonic technique, the demonic whale-killing fist. Even if it was flawed, its destructive power was undeniably strong. With these things, he was still suppressed by Feng Xinghai. Of course, Zhou Fu felt that Feng Xinghai was strong. Otherwise, he would be disgusted. Feng Xinghai. Zhou Datsai sighed and repeated this name. Then he asked, "That person was really Feng Xinghai?" Zhou Fu shrugged. "I don't know Feng Xinghai. I'm not sure if the person I saw was the person you know. However, he said that he was Feng Xinghai from the Feng clan fort." Another name that Zhou Datsai was familiar with fell into his ears. "If he's Feng Xinghai from the Feng clan fort, then he's someone I know. However, the person I know is already dead." "That Feng Xinghai is very strong, right?" Zhou Fu asked curiously. "Very strong, right? Of course he's strong. Back then, the Feng clan fort was known as the sea and sky as one. In the entire Fengyang prefecture, they were the most famous group of people among the younger generation. That Feng Xinghai is the sea in the sea and sky as one." Zhou Datsai recovered from his memories and said, "That Feng Xinghai is 2 years older than me. When he was 20 years old, he reached the extraordinary stage and killed a veteran expert of extraordinary level 3. He was in the limelight for a while. However, it's a pity that the Feng clan fort had a sudden change. They were unlucky. The thousands of people in the fort all died." Speaking of this, Zhou Datsai's tone revealed a hint of impermanence. Zhou Fu said, "He's just 1 or 2 levels higher than me. I'm only at the 3rd level of bone tempering. I'm not perfect yet. I can even kill an ordinary extraordinary level 1. This is nothing special. However," he changed the topic, "when I fought with Feng Xinghai, I could feel that he wasn't at the extraordinary stage. He was at the same level as me. He wasn't even at the blood transformation stage." "Oh right, that Feng Xinghai seemed to have been revived by someone called Blackfire, who claimed to be from the Blazing Race." "Father, what's the Blazing Race?" Zhou Datsai's heart skipped a beat. "Blazing Race? The thing that ran out from under the ancestral shrine in Heong City was actually from the Blazing Race? Did no one care about this?" At this moment, thousands of thoughts flashed through Zhou Datsai's mind. In the end, he decided to keep his mouth shut. After all, this matter had nothing to do with him. He couldn't let this matter have anything to do with Zhou Fu. Moreover, even if the Blazing Race made a comeback, it had nothing to do with him. "Blazing Race, huh? It has nothing to do with us. If you see them in the future, stay away from those weird things," Zhou Datsai warned. "And I know," Zhou Fu also said. However, in his heart, he still missed those weird things. After all, there was that kind of energy that allowed him to improve rapidly. Seeing that Zhou Fu agreed so quickly, Zhou Datsai opened his mouth. He suddenly felt a wave of powerlessness in his heart. This brat, although his mouth was beautiful, his expression of wanting to find the Blazing Race wasn't concealed at all. He didn't even put on an act. However, this made Zhou Datsai very depressed. Thus, he sighed inwardly. This is the so-called, the son has grown up and can't be controlled by his father. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Zhou Datsai rolled his eyes. "All right, if there's nothing else, hurry up and get out of here." This sudden change in attitude stunned Zhou Fu for a moment. Then, he revealed a helpless expression. "All right, then I'll leave first. Get out." After returning from Zhou Datsai's place, Zhou Fu first wrote a letter about the giant whale's base. Then, he handed it to the guard and asked him to bring it back to the Elysium in Ning, an east city, and pass it to Jin Peng. Continue to cultivate. In the following period of time, Zhou Fu was immersed in cultivation. Bit by bit, he accumulated his inner strength and broke through to the peak of the 3rd level of the bone tempering stage. 20 days later, Zhou Fu received a letter from the giant whale's headquarters. The letter said that the headquarters had sent people to Heong City again. Once they arrived, Zhou Fu was to leave immediately. Looking at the letter in his hand, Zhou Fu asked, "How long will it take for the new people to arrive in Heong City?" The imperial bodyguard said, "Before we set off, we had privately informed the other party to slow down. That person replied that the slowest they can delay is 25 days. There's no way to delay any longer." "In other words, they'll be here in 5 days?" "Yes." Zhou Fu nodded and recorded this guard's merit. Then, he let him leave. 5 days. My accumulation is still lacking. If I can't reach the peak of the bone tempering stage in 5 days, I'll have to use auxiliary methods to improve the Wisdom King scripture. In fact, Zhou Fu could have used auxiliary methods to improve his strength long ago. It's just that he was a little against the idea of skipping the process. Instead, he wanted to use auxiliary methods to improve his strength when he reached the bottleneck. In the end, it's still because my strength is not stable. I improved too quickly. Although I used the Hall of Refinement to make up for my foundation, my experience and knowledge did not catch up. You win some, you lose some. After sighing, Zhou Fu cleared his mind and took out the qi deposition pills that the guard brought. He grabbed a handful and swallowed them. Now, the qi deposition pills were getting less and less effective for him. He could only rely on quantity. After 3 handfuls, he swallowed about 30 pills. If it wasn't for the 3 wheels origin transformation divine art, I would have had a hard time just from consuming so many pills. Every medicine had its own poison. The 3 wheels of origin transformation technique could maximize the absorption of the medicinal properties of the pills and expel the dregs from the body. 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. The guard knocked on the door and woke Zhou Fu up. "Sir, the giant whale's new manager is here. Let him in." Chapter 223. The new manager of the giant whale was a smart man. When he first entered Heong City, he came to Zhou Fu and told him that he would follow the Zhou clan's lead in the future. He also hoped that Zhou Fu would leave some people behind to help him rebuild the giant whale's base. He was obviously going to be a puppet and do whatever he was told. Zhou Fu smiled and rejected him. He also said that if the Zhou clan were to encounter any problems in the future, he would help. Of course, Zhou Fu wouldn't let others help him for no reason. After all, there was a limit to friendship. Only benefits were eternal. 10 high-quality qi deposition pills per month. That was the price that Zhou Fu offered. In the beginning, the other party was still declining. It was only 10 spirit concentration pills. He knew this Zhou Fu, who had connections with both the chief and vice-chief of the gang. He did not want to be involved in some inexplicable matter. But under Zhou Fu's strong recommendation, he tried 1 pill and accepted the gift. He also said that he would take good care of the Zhou clan. In the end, he thanked Zhou Fu profusely and left. After arranging the giant whale's affairs, Zhou Fu said goodbye to Zhou Ducai and left Heong City with his men. In Zhou Ducai's study, Chai Rong and the woman in black stood aside. "Zhou Ducai, what's your next step?" Chai Rong's tone was very cold, but she kept it within an appropriate range. Zhou Ducai chuckled. "Next step? There's no next step. How it was before, how it will be in the future. Why? Do you have any ideas?" Chai Rong opened her mouth and held it in for a long time. She really didn't know what to say. She wanted Zhou Fu to ask him to remove the restriction in her body, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. Zhou Ducai obviously knew what Chai Rong was thinking. He said, "You just stay here and don't think about anything else. Now that my child has grown up and has her own ideas, as a father, it's not good for me to interfere too much. Moreover, I was the one who begged for your life, so you should just live on. You're already so old, yet you can't make a breakthrough. You don't have many years left. Can't you just stop and enjoy yourself?" Seeing Chai Rong's unhappy look, Zhou Ducai sighed. "If you're not convinced Fu or hasn't gone far, you can try to chase after him." Chai Rong was caught between a rock and a hard place. The expression on his face kept changing. In the end, he looked powerless. Without saying anything, he pulled the woman in black and turned around to leave. "Tsk, old thing, you're really a bastard who bullies the weak and fears the strong." Zhou Ducai cursed in disdain as he watched the other party leave. Then, he turned to the other side and said with some melancholy, "You little bastard, you're also a troublemaker." On the way to Ning, an east city, Zhou Fu also encountered something. To be precise, he met a special person, a monk. Ba. Greetings, almsgiver Zhou. In the depths of his memory, an extremely familiar greeting rang out. Zhou Fu immediately asked someone to stop the carriage. He leaned out of the window and saw a middle-aged monk wearing a brick-green robe standing by the side of the road. When he saw Zhou Fu poke his head out, he smiled. "Almsgiver Zhou, I'm Fong Guan. I've been entrusted by Almsgiver Xing to look for you." "Almsgiver Xing?" Zhou Fu looked at Fong Guan. The monk's aura was peaceful and there was no killing intent. Then, the so-called Almsgiver Xing should be Xing Feng. "If that's the case, please get on the carriage." Fong Guan smiled. "I don't deserve to be called Master. Almsgiver Zhou can just call me Fong Guan." As he spoke, he got on Zhou Fu's carriage. "Master Fong Guan, please take a seat." Zhou Fu gestured for him to sit down. Then, he asked curiously, "May I know why Master Fong Guan is here?" Fong Guan said, "Almsgiver Zhou is cultivating the great Sun True Qi. That third young Master Xing is afraid that Almsgiver Zhou's cultivation has gone astray, so he asked me to come." As he spoke, he sized up Zhou Fu. With one look, his eyes glowed with golden light and his face lit up with joy. "Almsgiver Zhou, you have great talent. You have rich qi and blood, a strong foundation, and you even have a faint hint of Buddhist Zen." He looked at Zhou Fu with shining eyes and asked, "Almsgiver Zhou, may I know if you're willing to follow me into the great Buddha temple? Don't worry, as long as you come, you'll definitely be able to learn the great Sun True Scripture. Not only that, there'll be a high monk who'll preach to you." What a guy! Zhou Fu was shocked by these conditions. The great Sun True Scripture was not mentioned. The high monk's preaching was amazing. One had to know that those monks who were good at martial arts could not be called high monk with great virtue. All the monks who were called eminent monks and Vedanta had great achievements in the Dharma. These people were the monks of the three treasures of the Buddhist Dharma, while martial monks were only protectors of the Dharma. When Zhou Fu heard the other party's promise, his heart began to beat faster. At the same time, he became alert. The two of them had only met for a few minutes, and he wanted a high monk to explain and give him the great Sun True Scripture? What a joke! Why don't you just give me the great Buddha temple? That. Master Fong Guan, let's talk about the great Sun True Qi. Fong Guan smiled unconcernedly, as if he hadn't just said those words. He continued Zhou Fu's words and said, "Then we will do as Benefactor Zhou says. Please use all your strength to activate your cultivation method, and let me see it carefully." It was nothing to circulate the great Sun True Qi in front of Fong Guan. The key was that the horses pulling the carriage would not be able to withstand it. Zhou Fu thought for a moment and smiled embarrassedly. "It's a little inconvenient here. Why don't I show it to Master Fong Guan when we set up camp?" Haha, this poor monk did not think it through. "Very well, then I will explain the Vajra Prajna Paramitha Secret Sutra to Almsgiver Zhou." Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat as he looked strangely at the monk in front of him. Fong Guan smiled faintly and gave off a peaceful feeling. He said, "I know that Almsgiver has also cultivated the Vajra battle body from the body refining hall. The core of that technique also contains the essence of my Buddhist Dharma. Although this poor monk cannot explain the essence of the technique to Almsgiver, this poor monk is still good at talking about sutras." Zhou Fu took a deep breath. It seemed that this monk knew him very well. "Then I will have to trouble Master Fong Guan." Thus, in the carriage, Fong Guan began to recite and explain the sutras to Zhou Fu. During the process of preaching, the originally boring sutras were inexplicably pleasant to listen to after coming out of the monk's mouth. It did not make people feel bored at all. There were also some insights mixed in with the notes of senior eminent monk. More importantly, some of the things pointed directly to the core of the Vajra battle body, which made Zhou Fu ponder. However, when Zhou Fu was listening attentively, the other party actually avoided the vital parts and began to explain other things. This feeling made Zhou Fu very uncomfortable, and it was not the first time. As dusk approached, the convoy found a good place to set up camp. Zhou Fu got out of the carriage rather uncomfortably. He took a few deep breaths and mobilized his internal force to let the space between his eyebrows emit a cool feeling, dispelling the irritation in his heart. In addition, the mountain wind blew. Zhou Fu instantly woke up and became more vigilant of Fong Guan in his heart. Good Baldy, this is king trap for me, right? His mind turned rapidly, and the memories after meeting Fong Guan flowed in his mind like watching a movie. Haha, good monk, what a brilliant method! Zhou Fu sneered in his heart. Although he was angry, he was also helpless because he could not tell what kind of trick the other party had played. Moreover, the other party had also explained the Buddhist sutras to him for free, which had deepened his understanding of the Vajra battle body. How could he say that the other party was bad? Almsgiver Zhou, are you all right? Fong Guan's voice came. I saw that almsgiver was irritable just now. Is there something wrong? Why don't you? Seeing Zhou Fu turn around, Fong Guan immediately stopped talking. At the same time, he looked at Zhou Fu in shock, and his heart was greatly shocked. Zhou Fu chuckled, his whole body exuding a sense of calmness. I've made Master Fong Guan worried. Maybe it was because of the boredom in the carriage. I'm much better now. Fong Guan took a deep look at Zhou Fu and smiled. That's good. Does almsgiver Zhou want to show the great Sun Tru Chi now? There's no hurry. Zhou Fu pointed at the rising smoke behind them. Let's eat first. I can't let Master Fong Guan work on an empty stomach, right? Haha, almsgiver Zhou is considerate. This monk thanks you. After eating and resting for a while, Zhou Fu brought Fong Guan to a quiet place. Master Fong Guan, this place is not bad. I'll show you here. After Zhou Fu finished speaking, he sat down cross-legged. A blazing power slowly rose from his body, causing Fong Guan's eyes to light up. Time slowly passed. Zhou Fu stopped and stood up. Master Fong Guan, how is it? Fong Guan praised. Almsgiver Zhou is really talented. In just a few months, you've cultivated the great Sun Tru Chi to such a level. It's comparable to 1 or 2 years of cultivation for others. Zhou Fu smiled and said a few modest words. Almsgiver Zhou doesn't need to be modest, Fong Guan thought and said. This monk has a presumptuous request. I wonder if almsgiver Zhou can show this monk a fist technique? Fist technique? Zhou Fu frowned and thought for a while. Fong Guan saw Zhou Fu frown and said, this monk is being impulsive. However, I said this because I want to see how I can help almsgiver. Zhou Fu shook his head. Master Fong Guan misunderstood. I was thinking about what fist technique I should use. Just pick one that almsgiver is familiar with. After saying this, Zhou Fu looked at him strangely and said, I wonder if Master Fong Guan knows that the fist technique I'm most familiar with is called the demon whale killing fist. After hearing Zhou Fu say the technique, Fong Guan was stunned. After saying this, Zhou Fu didn't look at him anymore. He thought of a fist technique, which was the mountain subduing fist. Although this fist technique was a martial technique, it could be activated with inner strength. Although it would lose some of its true meaning, it was enough to demonstrate the great Sun Tru Chi. Therefore, Zhou Fu leaped and landed on the ground. Master Fong Guan, watch carefully. Chapter 224. Beside the stream, waves of heat were surging. Fong Guan stood on a large rock, watching the figure not far away from him. The expression on his face changed from anticipation to shock, and then to depression. There was even a hint of disbelief on his face. Now there was only one thought in his mind: this must be fake. This must be fake. The routine of Mountain Subduing Fist was very simple. Now, it would only take a few minutes for Zhou Fu to finish. However, these few minutes were already torturous for Fang Guan. As far as he knew, even if Zhou Fu's fist technique could not shock him, it would at least make him feel good. This was the minimum requirement. However, fate made fools of people. At this moment, Zhou Fu not only failed to meet the minimum requirement, but he also had too much expectations of Zhou Fu. After a while of torment, seeing that Zhou Fu was still not done, Fang Guan could not take it anymore. He felt that he would be suffocated to death if he continued to watch. Just as he was about to interrupt Zhou Fu, a thought flashed through his mind, and he swallowed the words back into his stomach. After thinking for a while, he reminded, "Benefactor Zhou, in fist techniques there are two sayings. Strength comes from the heart and strength comes from the feet. Although there are differences between the two sayings, they are both correct. Benefactor, do you know why?" Zhou Fu, who was still practicing, was shocked. The heat on his body dissipated by a third. Seeing this, Fang Guan gasped again. If Zhou Fu was his disciple, he would have already beaten him up. Fang Guan suppressed the anger in his heart and said "Amitabha" to himself. Then he smiled bitterly in his heart. A debt of gratitude is not easy to repay. Back then, I spoke too confidently in front of Xing Feng. Now I can't back down. After being reminded, Zhou Fu fell into deep thought. Strength comes from the feet? Strength comes from the heart? And they are both correct? Strength comes from the feet. This was easy for Zhou Fu to understand. Every time he punched, he could subconsciously do this. Zhou Fu also understood the concept of strength comes from one's heart. When one thinks of it, one's hands will be there, and one's strength will be there. But when these two concepts were put together, he was a little confused. Because in Fang Guan's painting, these two concepts were obviously different, but they could coexist. As his thoughts churned, the fist technique in his hands slowed down. Conflicting thoughts kept on clashing in his mind. All correct? What should he do? What is force? Bang! In a moment of carelessness, Zhou Fu actually bumped into a tree trunk. The tree shook and the leaves on it rustled. Watching from the side, Fang Qiu couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. How could this person be so stupid? He didn't even have the common knowledge of martial arts, so how did he manage to cultivate the great Sun Tru Qi to such a level? Could it be that fortune favors fools? My Buddha is merciful. You can't joke like this, right? Zhou Fu stared at the tree trunk in a daze. Suddenly, a sentence appeared in his mind. The tree trunk is connected to the tree root. This is the root of a tree. As for the branches and leaves, they were only used for decoration. They were the hair that adhered to the skin. Tree trunk and body. Force. At this moment, Zhou Fu only felt a gush of fresh air flowing from the top of his head into his body. The places that used to be chaotic and confused also brightened up in an instant. He raised his hand and clenched it into a fist. The heat wave that was about to dissipate from his body boiled again, and then condensed bit by bit towards him. He punched out. Boom! The tree in front of him suddenly exploded. Waves of flames rushed out from the tree trunk. So that's how it is. Force comes from the heart, Zhou Fu muttered to himself. He looked at the fist that he had punched out and felt that something was not right. The force was released, but it was not completely released. At this moment, in the carriage, the monk Fang Guan had said many things to him. Now, those words were lingering in his mind. Memories related to the past also began to awaken. Some famous classics also appeared in his mind. Above the Akalanatha Dharma form, an infinite amount of light suddenly bloomed, illuminating Zhou Fu's sea of consciousness and making his whole soul empty. Therefore, all Dharma forms are empty. The bright sea of consciousness turned dark in the blink of an eye. It was like chaos. Even the Dharma form lost its light, as if it was swallowed by chaos. This was Zhou Fu's sea of consciousness and also the reflection of his soul. Emptiness. This was a kind of realm that crossed the realm of Buddhism and was not limited to the existence of form. I'm so stupid. Zhou Fu's face revealed a strange smile. Those classics that I memorized to show off were all for nothing. He found the way. At the side, Fang Guan saw Zhou Fu laughing foolishly at a tree for a long time. He could not help but say, "Zhou." As soon as he said the first word, he was stunned by the scene in front of him. Zhou Fu's body was suffused with a golden light. That was the light that belonged to the diamond battle body. Then, Zhou Fu punched out. His fist flashed with a platinum light, accompanied by rolling heat waves that blew in all directions. When the fist landed, the ground shook violently. Zhou Fu also flashed and left the place. Boom! A heat wave rushed out of the ground, bringing a large amount of dust and pebbles into the sky. This scene was like a bomb that was buried in the ground had exploded. Zhou Fu looked at the dust and smiled happily. He flashed to Fang Guan's side and cupped his fist. "Master Fang Guan, thank you for your advice. I am very grateful." Fang Guan forced a smile. "Haha, you're too kind. This is what I should do. Now that you understand, I have nothing else to teach you. It's time for me to leave." Hearing that Fang Guan was about to leave, Zhou Fu hurriedly stopped him. "Don't, Master Fang Guan. I've just understood. There must be a lot of things that I need help with. Why don't you stay for a few more days?" Stay? Fang Guan did not want to stay any longer. He originally came to teach Zhou Fu how to cultivate the Great Sun True Qi. He also wanted to teach him how to use the Great Sun True Qi to fight against enemies. But after seeing what had just happened, he did not want to teach him anymore. If he continued to teach, he would be grooming a very capable subordinate for Xingfeng. That would not benefit him at all. Perhaps in the future, when Zhou Fu grew up, he would become an obstacle to him or the great Buddhist temple. "Amitabha, I have fulfilled my promise. It is time for me to leave." Zhou Fu's eyes flashed. "Master Fang Guan, how about this? I just broke through, and my state of mind is still a little unstable. Why don't you teach me some scriptures?" "Teach you scriptures?" Fang Guan looked at Zhou Fu in surprise. He did not know what Zhou Fu was up to. "Yes, teach me scriptures." Zhou Fu nodded and said, "On the way here, I listened to the scriptures that Master Fang Guan taught me. I felt a lot more comfortable. If you teach me now, I will be able to stabilize it faster." The corner of Fang Guan's mouth twitched. He thought to himself, "Come on, it's very comfortable. If you can feel comfortable under my sneak attack, it's already merciful that I haven't been beaten to death by you." Haha, Benefactor Zhou must be joking. How could this poor monk have such great ability? Just as Fang Guan was about to refuse, a thought flashed through his mind. He smiled and said, "However, since Benefactor Zhou wants to listen to the scriptures, this poor monk has no reason to refuse. Ha 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 ha, that's great. Then I will have to trouble Master Fang Guan. Let's go back first, please. Benefactor Zhou, please." When the two of them arrived at the campsite, they returned to their respective tents to rest. Late at night, just as Fang Guan was preparing to go to bed, he felt an extremely familiar fluctuation. He was stunned for a moment, and then his eyes widened as he looked in Zhou Fu's direction. That was also where the fluctuation had occurred. He muttered to himself, "Merciful Buddha, the 6th level of the Great Sun True Qi has been cultivated? Is there really such a talented person in this world? No, I have to find a way to pull him into Buddhism. Even if I can't, I have to put the label of Buddhism on him." Sensing the weakening wave, Fang Guan's heart was in turmoil. He stopped sleeping and sat cross-legged to meditate. The next day, Fang Guan left his tent early. Under the morning sun, there was still some white fog floating in the forest. The chill of autumn had already appeared. There was already a chill in the morning dew. In a few days, frost would fall on the leaves. At this moment, there was a shout from the river. Fang Guan walked towards the river. When he reached the river, he saw Zhou Fu practicing his fist. The wind from his fist was much smaller than yesterday, but the power it exuded was much stronger. Fang Guan was slightly shocked. He looked at Zhou Fu quietly, all kinds of thoughts appearing in his mind. After more than 10 minutes, Zhou Fu stopped. Master Fang Guan, you are here. Fang Guan smiled. Ba, I have disturbed benefactor Zhou. Not at all, not at all. After a few polite words, Fang Guan asked, Benefactor Zhou, if I may ask, did you make a breakthrough in your grandson Genuine Qi last night? Zhou Fu smiled. Yes, after receiving Master Fang Guan's guidance yesterday, it was as if I was enlightened. When I was practicing at night, I suddenly had an epiphany, so I took advantage of the situation to make a breakthrough. Benefactor Zhou is really a man of great fortune. Good, good. Fang Guan put his palms together and congratulated Zhou Fu. Epiphany? Enlightened? If I had the ability, I would at least be a chief. There would be no need for me to run around the world. After adjusting his state of mind, he asked, Benefactor Zhou said yesterday that you wanted to listen to scriptures. What scriptures do you want to listen to? Zhou Fu thought for a moment and said, Speaking of which, I really don't know. Not to mention scriptures, I don't even remember what I learned from Master. Hearing this, Fang Guan's eyes lit up slightly. Don't know? It's good that you don't know. In that case, Zhou Fu would listen to whatever he wanted to say. Therefore, Fang Guan knew what to do. In that case, I will make the decision without your permission. I hope Benefactor Zhou won't blame me. Zhou Fu smiled. Master Fang Guan, don't say that. I should be the one thanking you. Therefore, the two of them walked toward the campsite amicably. It was time for breakfast. On the way, Fang Guan inadvertently asked, Benefactor Zhou, who did you learn from in the beginning? I don't mean to be nosy, but I find that your martial arts foundation is a little superficial. He thought of many words to describe Zhou Fu's martial arts foundation, but only the word superficial was suitable and would not offend anyone. Zhou Fu smiled and did not take it seriously. He replied, There was no one who taught me. I was originally a rich man's son. Later, I met bandits and killed people. Because of that, I became interested in martial arts. To put it bluntly, I was afraid of death. Chapter 225. Fang Guan laughed, hiding the shock in his heart. I didn't expect almsgiver Zhou to be a self-taught genius. How admirable! Although that was what he said, Fang Guan did not believe Zhou Fu's words. Self-taught genius? What kind of joke was this? Since when could someone without any martial arts foundation cultivate the adamantine battle body to such an extent? According to his information, Zhou Fu had also practiced several profound cultivation methods, including the Great Sun True Qi, the Spring Wind and Rain Body Nourishing Skill, and the incomplete Devil Cult cultivation method, the Devil Whale Killing Fist. Moreover, he had made great achievements in all of them. Aside from these advanced techniques, Zhou Fu was suspected to have cultivated many intermediate and low-level techniques, which he did not show in front of others. Show in front of others, thinking of this, Fang Guan's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly realized that the Zhou Fu in front of him seemed to have only appeared for a short period of time. It seemed to have only been a year. Recalling that Zhou Fu's hometown was Heong City, Fang Guan suddenly felt that Zhou Fu's words were very likely to be true. Ba. Fang Guan put his palms together and chanted the name of Buddha. Zhou Fu looked at Fang Guan in surprise and asked, Master Fang Guan, is there something wrong? Fang Guan's face revealed a sincere smile, which made people feel as if they were bathing in the spring breeze. No, I'm just lamenting that almsgiver Zhou's path of martial arts is arduous. Without a teacher to guide you, and without a famous teacher to guide you, you have relied on your hot-bloodedness to reach where you are today. It's truly admirable. Fang Guan's sudden change in attitude stunned Zhou Fu, but he did feel a strong sense of goodwill. Zhou Fu thought about it. Along the way, the loophole was that his cultivation speed was faster. However, this could be explained. After all, he had many fortuitous encounters, and with the accumulation of various elixirs, it was understandable that his cultivation speed was fast. As for the problem of elixir poisoning, Zhou Fu could blame it on the three wheels origin transformation divine technique. After thinking for a while, Zhou Fu could not think of anything that would make Fang Guan use underhanded means, so he laughed along. No matter what, Fang Guan was praising him. Master Fang Guan, you flatter me. I was just lucky. Fang Guan sighed again and said, Almsgiver Zhou, you have a kind heart. To be able to not be arrogant at such a young age makes me feel ashamed. I am inferior to you. Ha 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 ha. Zhou Fu laughed awkwardly. F*ck. He really couldn't take such crazy praises. Fortunately, the two of them had already returned to the campsite. Under the servants' greetings, they began to eat. After the meal, everyone packed their luggage and headed back to Ning, and Fang Guan and Zhou Fu rode in the same carriage. Inside the carriage, he began to explain the classics to Zhou Fu. Incidentally, he also explained a lot of basic martial arts knowledge. 15 days later, early in the morning, Fang Guan proposed to leave. Almsgiver Zhou, I'm leaving. Zhou Fu was taken aback and looked at Fang Guan with great reluctance. Master Fang Guan, we haven't even reached Ning and yet. We've already traveled more than half the distance. There are less than 10 days left. Why are you in such a hurry? Fang Guan had a faint smile on his face. It's been more than a month since I left the temple. It's time to go back. Ning'an City is a bit far from the great Buddhist temple. This place is just right. Seeing Zhou Fu's reluctant expression, he was very gratified. These days, Fang Guan had imparted a lot of knowledge to Zhou Fu. It had to be known that these things were the summaries of the great Buddhist temple's experiences. They could be said to be the best of the best. This knowledge was very important to Zhou Fu. It was equivalent to helping him sort out the cultivation method and vaguely pointing out the path of development. Of course, Fang Guan was not so kind. The Dharma could not be imparted easily. When he taught Zhou Fu these things, he mixed in many things about the Dharma. He faintly guided Zhou Fu towards the Dharma. Fang Guan put his palms together and said, Almsgiver Zhou, you have deep roots of wisdom. You have Dharma fate. Our fate has not ended. We will meet again in the future. He thought for a moment. His expression showed that he had made up his mind. To the side, Zhou Fu saw Fang Guan's expression and was also thoughtful. He stood quietly to the side and waited. Fine, Fang Guan suddenly said. This penniless monk entered Defo Temple when he was young. Fortunately, this penniless monk was favored by an eminent monk and passed down the Great Sun Sutra. Other than that, this penniless monk is also skilled in capturing and palm technique. Before we leave, I will show it to Almsgiver Zhou. I hope it will help you. A look of understanding appeared in Zhou Fu's eyes. He was going to secretly impart the Dharma to him. With such a good thing in front of him, of course he was willing. Just as he was about to thank him, Fang Guan had already flashed to an empty space. The dragon capturing hand is one of the great Buddhist temple's capturing techniques. Fang Guan explained. Then, on his hands, there were ripples of light spots like flowing water. The sharp claws danced in the air, constantly tearing at the surrounding air. Faintly, Zhou Fu even felt a strange fluctuation. When he looked at it with rapt attention, he saw strange cyclones constantly moving under Fang Guan's hands. Zhou Fu watched intently. Suddenly, his heart stirred. A faint golden light flashed in the depths of his eyes. Even the Akalanatha Dharma in his sea of consciousness opened its eyes. Fang Guan, who was practicing the Dharma Sutra, felt a jolt in his heart. It was as if something was watching him with divine sense. He subconsciously divided his attention to sense the other party. The source was easy to find. It was not far from him. Zhou Fu? He has actually cultivated divine sense. At this moment, Fang Guan was so shocked that his movements began to go out of shape. Zhou Fu, who was watching attentively, frowned. He thought to himself, "What's going on? My movements are all wrong. How could Master Fang Guan make such a mistake?" Just as Zhou Fu was puzzled, Fang Guan came to his senses. He suppressed the shock in his heart, adjusted his movements, and continued to demonstrate some of the characteristics of the great Sun Tru Chi. After Fang Guan finished, he first apologized. "I'm sorry, almsgiver Zhou. Just now I was really..." Seeing Fang Guan's embarrassed look, Zhou Fu hurriedly said, "Master Fang Guan, you don't have to be like this. I should be the one thanking you. You showed me the essentials of the great Sun Tru Chi. Zhou Fu is eternally grateful." After hearing that Zhou Fu understood his intention of demonstrating the Dharma Sutra, Fang Guan sighed in his heart. As expected of someone who has comprehended divine sense, his perception is indeed incomparable. "Almsgiver Zhou, you're too polite. Now I should be leaving. Goodbye." After saying that, without waiting for Zhou Fu to speak, he turned around and walked to the side. He sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes, like a Buddha statue. Zhou Fu put his palms together and bowed. "Zhou Fu, farewell. Master, please take care." After waiting for Zhou Fu's convoy to leave, Fang Guan, who was meditating, opened his eyes and looked at the place where Zhou Fu had left. He murmured, "With such talent, he should join my sect." Zhou Fu, at this moment, dozens of figures rushed over and surrounded Fang Guan. Fang Guan was not shocked by the sudden change. Instead, he looked around with a smile. "Amitabha, I wonder why you have surrounded me here?" A man in black with a silver ghost mask jumped out. The eyes behind the mask stared at Fang Guan and asked, "Monk, what's your relationship with that person? Why did you follow him for so many days? What have you done? Speak." Fang Guan said, "This is a matter between me and almsgiver Zhou. It has nothing to do with you, right?" The silver-masked man sneered. "Monk, don't be so tactless." As soon as he said that, the surrounding men in black suddenly exuded an aura that pressed down on Fang Guan. Among these people, there were more than a dozen in the blood transformation realm, and the rest were in the bone-forging realm. Moreover, the qi and blood in their bodies were very vigorous. Judging from the aura, these people had learned from the same source. This discovery made Fang Guan frown. At the same time, a big question arose in his heart. Who are these people? Seeing Fang Guan's silence, the silver-masked man suddenly became angry. "Good monk. I think you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. In that case, I'll send you to see your Buddha Lord. Kill." As soon as he finished speaking, a misty rain of hidden weapons smashed toward Fang Guan. Amitabha. Covered by hundreds of hidden weapons, Fang Guan's expression did not change. His hands were still pressed together in front of his chest. A layer of platinum light appeared on the surface of his body, and then suddenly swept out. Buzz! The surrounding air suddenly trembled, and the hidden weapons that filled the sky instantly dissipated. "I see that the evil thoughts in your hearts are deeply rooted. Why don't you come with me to the great Buddhist temple and have my master's seniors remove the evil thoughts in your hearts?" After seeing Fang Guan's attack, the silver-masked man's heart instantly fell into an abyss. "How is this possible? You're just a monk who can't even capture properly. How can you have such a terrifying method? So that's how it is." From the silver-masked man's words, Fang Guan knew why he was surrounded. It turned out that his poor performance had made him a pushover. After understanding, Fang Guan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Amitabha, so that's how it is. What do you all think of this poor monk's suggestion?" The silver-masked man forcibly suppressed his shock and anger and looked into the depths of the forest. However, nothing happened. Thus, he steeled his heart and suddenly pulled out the weapon at his waist. He pointed it at Fang Guan and shouted, "Kill him!" "Ah, anger is a sin. You've already sinned deeply. You can't be saved. You can't be saved." Fang Guan opened his palm and suddenly slammed it down. Boom! In front of him, a powerful attack spread out in a fan shape. All the black-clothed men who encountered it didn't even have the ability to resist. Their bodies instantly shattered. In the blink of an eye, the flesh and blood that was flying in the air was burned to ashes by the terrifyingly high temperature of the inner strength. After the attack, Fong Guan put his palms together and closed his eyes. A blinding white-gold halo rushed out of his body and instantly swept across the black-clothed men beside and behind him. Thump, thump. A series of bodies fell to the ground. The silver-masked man, who was the last survivor, looked at Fong Guan in horror. He was so frightened that he couldn't speak. Fong Guan flashed in front of the silver-masked man and reached out his right hand to grab the man's head. His internal strength entered the man's body and checked his condition. After a long while, Fong Guan released his hand. The silver-masked man immediately bled from his orifices and fell to the ground, dead. He looked in the direction of Ning'an City and said strangely, "You actually found the way." Chapter 226. In the wee hours of the morning, the stars in the night sky had yet to fade, and the sky was just starting to brighten. In the camp there were several bonfires, and Zhou Fu was sitting cross-legged beside one of them. Suddenly, a strange sound entered his ears, waking him up from his cultivation state. He opened his eyes and looked into the darkness in the distance. Alert! A huge sound wave exploded in the sky above the camp, and the whole camp was instantly noisy. The people in the dark were also shocked by the sound wave. As the noise came from the camp, they knew that they were exposed, so they stopped hiding and quickly rushed out. When the two sides met, the men in black did not say a word and took out their hidden weapons and threw them over. As for the people in the camp, they were still sleeping. After being suddenly awakened, some of them still had not recovered from their sleep. As the hidden weapons flew toward them, there were screams in the camp. Zhou Fu's eyes turned cold and anger rose in his heart. These bastards, he had already told them to be more vigilant when they were outside. Now, it seemed that these bastards had forgotten about the warning. Although he was angry, he could not stand by and watch his men being slaughtered like pigs. Zhou Fu's figure suddenly rushed out, and the energy in his body was rolling. The platinum light kept flashing, and the hidden weapons that were flying toward him were knocked away. Die! With a roar, the bright light of energy bloomed on Zhou Fu's fist, illuminating the surroundings as if it was daytime. Along with the light, a powerful gust of wind followed. Kill! With a punch, the domineering Great Sun True Chi shattered the protective energy of a man in black in front of him and hit his chest hard. Boom! The energy exploded, and the Great Sun True Chi blew the man in black into several pieces. Then, he was swept up by the strong wind and thrown forward. After Zhou Fu killed a man in a domineering manner, the guards at the back were completely awake. They quickly took out their weapons and got into formation. They defended while putting on their equipment. Out of the corner of his eye, Zhou Fu glanced at the troops behind him. After seeing that the guards had stabilized, he snorted coldly. At this moment, he could wholeheartedly kill the men in black. The white gold light condensed once again, and those men in black who were close to Zhou Fu felt their hearts tremble violently as they dodged to the side in fear. At this moment, before Zhou Fu could make a move, 4 figures jumped out from behind the crowd. Dark red clouds floated around their bodies as they flew down with powerful auras. While the 4 of them were in the air, the sharp blades in their hands shone with sharp light. Kill! The 4 of them shouted in unison. 4 scarlet sword lights slashed down with a scorching aura. Peak of bone forging? Zhou Fu disdainfully said. He met the attack head-on, his white gold fist punching out. With a bang, the sword light shattered. Zhou Fu's fist had directly smashed a person into pieces. At this time, the other 3 people also reacted. The long swords in their hands once again bloomed with a sharp edge, and with a tyrannical inner strength they attacked again. Zhou Fu's body glowed with a faint golden light, allowing the attacks to fall on him. Clang clang clang. Boom. The inner strength rolled over and over, but Zhou Fu did not move at all. While the 3 of them were in a daze, A white gold light streaked across their necks. Poof! The 3 headless corpses fell to the ground. Moreover, at the wounds, sparks appeared. In the blink of an eye, the corpses were engulfed in flames. Great Sun True Energy? A bewildered voice sounded. How do you have the Great Sun True Energy? Where did you get the Great Sun Chi? Bastard, kill him for me! All of you, attack! Zhou Fu was quite familiar with the angry voice. Wasn't this the leader of the giant whale gang, Xing Gang? After knowing that Xing Gang had personally come, Zhou Fu's heart sank. He was still very wary of the Xing family, especially after following Fong Guan for some time. He could more or less guess how powerful these aristocratic children who had received systematic education from a young age were. As Xing Gang's voice fell, more than 10 figures rushed into the sky. Each of them exuded a powerful aura of the blood-changing realm. Kill! The scarlet light seemed to occupy the entire sky, and a strong pressure came crashing down on them. Zhou Fu raised his head and frowned as he looked at the scarlet light screen. These dozen or so people in the blood purification realm were actually cultivating the same cultivation technique. Moreover, this cultivation technique had an aura that he was very familiar with. This familiar feeling came from the demonic whale-killing fist. More than 10 people in the blood-changing realm who practiced demonic technique. Hee, how interesting! Zhou Fu's expression was a little pained. He suddenly felt that he was involved in a very troublesome matter. Golden lines appeared on Zhou Fu's body and intertwined with each other, forming strange runes. Boom! When the attack landed, there was a loud bang and a powerful force exploded. The surrounding air was shaken and ripples were formed. A layer of 3 feet of soil was lifted up from the ground. Smoke and dust rose as a golden figure suddenly rushed out and crashed into the crowd. White light shot out in all directions and in the blink of an eye, 3 people were sent flying. Retreat! Surround and kill! Xing Gang glared at the golden figure and fiercely commanded his subordinates to attack. A bunch of trash. More than 10 of them against 1. Not only were they unable to kill him in 1 blow, but the other party even managed to dodge the attack and kill 3 of them. At this moment, Xing Gang felt that he had lost all face. Seeing Xing Gang walk out of the darkness, Zhou Fu sneered. Surround and kill him? A group of people who couldn't even break through his defense wanted to surround and kill him? Facing attacks from all directions, Zhou Fu did not dodge or evade. He allowed those attacks to land on him. Instead, he targeted one person and rushed up to kill that person. After that, he moved on to another target. In this way, Zhou Fu killed a total of 6 people in a minute. Xing Gang was so angry that the veins on his temples were throbbing. He felt that his face was being slapped by that bastard Zhou Fu. He could even feel bursts of heat rising from his cheeks. Bastard! Trash! All of you, get out of my way! Xing Gang couldn't stand it anymore. Although these subordinates were expendable in his eyes, they shouldn't be used like this. What made him even more uncomfortable was that the group of people he sent out yesterday had lost contact. They were most likely killed, and he didn't know who killed them. Therefore, this group of people was almost all of his subordinate. He couldn't let any more of them die. Black and red lines appeared on Xing Gang's cheek. Flames appeared in his eyes. Even his body was on fire as he charged towards Zhou Fu. A black and red light bloomed on Xing Gang's palm. Black smoke lingered behind him. He looked like a demon rushing out of a volcano. Die for me! Evil Qi soared into the sky. A black and red hand suddenly slammed onto Zhou Fu's fist. Boom! The fist and palm collided. Rings of inner strength vibrated out. Zhou Fu's figure was also sent flying by this palm. Seeing this, Xing Gang's face revealed a sinister smile. However, this smile didn't last long. After Zhou Fu landed, he turned around and grabbed a blood-changing realm cultivator beside him. In a flash of platinum light, that blood-changing realm cultivator died under Zhou Fu's fist. Chapter 227. After Zhou Fu's killing spree and Xingang's attacks from behind, only 4 of the blood-changing realm cultivators were left among the black-clothed men. The 4 of them also ran far away. They had long noticed that in order to prevent his subordinates from being slaughtered, Zhou Fu had targeted them, the backbone of the black-clothed men. Their attacks had no effect on Zhou Fu, and they couldn't even slow him down, so they all fled. Xingang, who was chasing after Zhou Fu, was quite angry at his subordinate. Although he knew that those people couldn't stop Zhou Fu, it was too embarrassing for a group of people to be chased by Zhou Fu. Moreover, everyone's cultivation was higher than Zhou Fu's. What made him even more uncomfortable was that he, Xingang, was still here. Shame on him. This Zhou Fu must die. Thinking of this, a violent inner strength gushed out from Xingang's body. His speed instantly soared, increasing by 50% compared to before. In 2 seconds, he crossed a distance of 30 to 40 meters and arrived behind Zhou Fu. A black and red light condensed in his hand, and a long sword emitting a fierce aura condensed. Secret skill, heart chasing. The muscles on Zhou Fu's chest and back suddenly twitched, and his heart was suddenly covered by a thick haze. At this moment, he felt like a prey targeted by a shotgun. Panic and madness grew in his heart. I'll die. I can't take it head on. Zhou Fu's whole body trembled, and he subconsciously wanted to turn around and run away. Just as he turned half his body, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. This thing can affect a person's mind. Zhou Fu's eyes widened. Seeing that the black and red sword light had already arrived in front of him, it was too late to dodge. Zhou Fu crazily urged the inner strength in his body. The golden runes on his body seemed to be endowed with life. They began to twist, and a dazzling golden light bloomed on his body. Layers of great sun true qi were gathered. Zhou Fu felt that the skin on his fist was burned, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. Kill! His fist smashed into the black and red sword light. Boom! With a loud sound, the collapse of the energy rippled in all directions. Countless black, red, and white gold light spots scattered, and the ground suddenly burned. At this moment, Zhou Fu felt like he was hit by a full truck. He was stunned and his head buzzed. His whole body flew backward into the darkness, and after smashing several trees, he smashed into the ground. The recoil from the ground caused Zhou Fu's internal organs to tremble. He felt a sweet taste in his throat and his breath came out. Puff! Blood sprayed. Immediately, a warm current gushed out of his body, healing the wounds that had appeared. What a terrifying attack! Is this the blood transfusion realm of an aristocratic family's son? According to the information given by Xingfeng, Xingang was only at level 2 of the blood transfusion realm. He had not broken through to level 3 of the blood transfusion realm. Zhou Fu, on the other hand, was able to beat up a level 1 of the extraordinary even without Monk Fong Guan's guidance. From this, it could be seen how powerful Xingang's attack was. If it was Chai Rong who blocked this move, he would probably be dead. Hiss! Just as he raised his arm, the intense pain made Zhou Fu gasp. He looked down and saw that the skin on his right arm, where his fist was connected to his forearm, looked like it had been burned by a fire. The scar was hideous, and it was scorched black. Bright red flesh could be seen underneath. On the surface, the meridians on his arm were also burning with unbearable pain. Various kinds of inner strength wanted to enter, but it was blocked by Zhou Fu's great sun true qi. Is this the Xing family's extreme yang burning sky skill? Zhou Fu endured the pain, grinned, and walked out of the pit. A fierce look flashed in his eyes, and the burning wound suddenly burst open. Blood splattered, and sparks flew out. These sparks were the inner strength that Xinggang had injected. After forcing out the inner strength, Zhou Fu felt that the pain on his arm had eased a lot. A cool force flowed into his shoulder, and the bleeding wound quickly healed. On the other side, Xinggang looked a little tired. He retreated in a flash, avoiding the violent inner strength. He waved his hand and used his inner strength to sweep away the sparks that were flying everywhere. Zhou Fu. Even if he's not dead, he should be seriously injured, right? He stared at the tunnel that Zhou Fu had created and muttered to himself. Ta 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 ta. The sound of footsteps could be heard, and the first thing that came into view was a golden figure. Zhou Fu. Xing Feng squeezed out a vicious voice from between his teeth. Now, whenever he saw Zhou Fu, he felt his face burning. The anger in his heart was surging out, and it was the kind that couldn't be suppressed. Zhou Fu used 2 to 3 minutes to walk to a place about 20 steps away from Xing Feng. At this time, the wound on his arm had already scabbed over, and a slight itch could be felt. The wound under the scabs had already healed. I can fight, but I have to be on guard against the opponent's big move. The heart-chasing technique just now was F*King ridiculous. Zhou Fu licked his lips. Xing Gang stared at Zhou Fu with a vicious gaze. The moment he opened his mouth, he had a tyrannical aura. Very good, you're still alive. Next, I'm going to tear you apart bit by bit, and then use the burning sky force to burn you into ashes. Zhou Fu grinned and laughed, but the vigilance in his heart didn't relax at all. That move just now was very powerful, but it seems like you can't use it casually, right? Looking at your face, it seems like you're very tired. Xing Gang's face suddenly darkened, and the black and red flames in his eyes flickered. You have a sharp tongue, I hope you can still say something later. With a bang, the ground under Xing Gang's feet instantly cracked, and he rushed towards Zhou Fu with a strong gust of wind. Seeing Xing Gang's actions, Zhou Fu grinned. Fighting force with force? He had never been afraid of anyone. Kill! With a roar, Zhou Fu also rushed forward. Boom boom boom. A series of explosions came from between the two of them. In the flashes of black and red and platinum light, the two of them constantly collided. Their fists and palms kept colliding, and circles of ripples spread out in all directions. Boom. Xing Gang blasted out a palm, and the black and red light exploded, and Zhou Fu was sent flying. I'm going to kill you! Xing Gang gritted his teeth and roared. In a flash, he caught up with Zhou Fu's figure, and a series of palm shadows came down on his face. Die! Xing Gang's eyes spat out flames, and he pushed his palms forward, hitting Zhou Fu until golden light splattered all over his body, like molten iron splattering when forging. Boom! After Zhou Fu fell, the ground shook violently, and visible ripples lifted up the grass and 3 feet of soil. Xing Gang landed on the ground, panting heavily. At this moment, his arms were trembling non-stop. The surrounding men in black, as well as Zhou Fu's guards, had stopped fighting. Both sides watched the battle between the two of them nervously. The outcome of the battle between the higher-ups would determine their outcome. In the smoke and dust, Zhou Fu's body was trembling, and blood flowed out from his nose and mouth. In his body, the spring breeze and rain nourishing technique was circulating rapidly. At this moment, Zhou Fu finally knew why this technique was called that. A large amount of qi and blood was transformed into a cloud, and like the spring breeze and rain, it nourished his entire body. The 3 wheels rotated, and his qi, blood, and inner strength flowed out. The dim golden light on Zhou Fu's body shone again. When the smoke and dust dissipated, Zhou Fu's figure was revealed. Xing Gang's eyes widened, and the charred black dead skin on his arm fell off, revealing the tender new skin underneath. Spring breeze and rain nourishing technique? Xing Gang let out a beast-like roar, and the fire in his eyes lit up again. You really, you bastard. He wanted to say that name, but there were others around him, and he suppressed the name that had almost become his nightmare. Kill! His anger and grievance turned into a murderous intent, and in a flash of black and red light, he rushed towards Zhou Fu again. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed, and he also rushed forward with his fists. Bang bang bang! As the two of them exchanged blows, Zhou Fu immediately felt a huge pressure. At this moment, Xing Gang's attacks were 30% stronger, and as their fists and palms collided, Zhou Fu was also forced back. The sound of the explosion gradually faded away. The men in black and the guards watched the two of them disappear into the forest, but no one dared to chase after them. Thus, the two sides looked at each other, and obediently stayed where they were, waiting for the result. Zhou Fu and Xing Gang fought further and further away, until they could no longer see the campsite. Bastard, you really did hook up with that bitch Xing Feng, you all deserve to die. Xing Gang was like a madman. His hands were dripping with blood, and charred wounds appeared on his skin. After Zhou Fu noticed this, he immediately understood. At this moment, Xing Gang was still unable to control this abnormally violent technique. Every time he attacked, he would be injured. So your body can't take it anymore. Zhou Fu laughed, and the great Sun Tru Qi on his fists continuously smashed out, as if he was willing to exchange injuries for injuries. He had a technique to heal himself, but what did Xing Gang have? In the next moment, Zhou Fu understood. After Xing Gang blasted Zhou Fu away with his palm, he took out a small porcelain bottle. Pills? Zhou Fu's eyes widened. He couldn't let him take the pills. Boom! A powerful force rushed out of his body and surrounded Zhou Fu, leaving behind an afterimage. In an instant, he appeared beside Xing Gang, and a blazing fist came crashing down. Bastard! Xing Gang immediately understood Zhou Fu's intention. He didn't want him to take the pills. As the fist wind approached, he could only put away the bottle and fight with Zhou Fu. You deserve to die. Zhou Fu sneered. Gang leader Xing, how many times have you said this? Stop with the nonsense. His mocking tone made Xing Feng go crazy, and the anger in his chest was like a volcano that was about to erupt. Bastard, do you really think I can't kill you? Xing Gang's mentality collapsed. After hearing this, Zhou Fu's heart was alarmed. Xing Gang roared, "Today, I'll show you the extreme yang burning heaven." Madness crawled up Xing Gang's cheeks, and a liquid as bright as magma flowed out of the grooves on his face, emitting a high temperature. Secret technique. Zhou Fu immediately retreated and ran without looking back. Xing Gang gritted his teeth and chased after him. Yang. Extreme. Puff. Xing Gang, who was chasing after him, suddenly trembled and spat out a mouthful of black blood. Black and red flames shot out from his body, and he fell to the ground with a bang. There was no sound behind him. Zhou Fu turned around and saw Xing Gang lying on the ground. What's going on? He stopped, frowned, and thought for a while. Then, he rushed toward Xing Gang. When he was about 10 steps away from Xing Gang, Zhou Fu stopped and kicked a small stone with the tip of his foot. Whoosh! Pop! The stone hit Xing Gang's arm. Are you still alive? Zhou Fu asked, but Xing Gang didn't respond. He slowly walked to Xing Gang's side, and when he saw Xing Gang's current appearance, he sucked in a breath of cold air. On Xing Gang's skin, there was a crack as wide as a finger. It was so deep that his bones could be seen. The blood flowing inside flashed red from time to time. Xing Gang couldn't die. At the very least, he couldn't die now. Otherwise, Zhou Fu wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Sigh. What AF * King Sin. After sighing, Zhou Fu wrapped his hands with his inner strength and found the porcelain bottle on Xing Gang's body. When he opened the bottle, a bone-piercing chill rushed out, causing Zhou Fu to shiver. Moreover, a layer of frost condensed on his hands. What kind of pill is this? Will I die if I eat it? After seeing the effects of the pill, Zhou Fu hesitated. However, looking at Xing Gang's condition, it didn't seem to be any better than death. Forget it, life and death are up to the heavens. If I can't do it, I'll just run. That little master of mine shouldn't be any worse than the Xing family. Zhou Fu mumbled, then poured out a pill and stuffed it into Xing Gang's mouth. About 5 minutes later, the cracks on Xing Gang's body stopped expanding and started to heal. Seeing this, Zhou Fu heaved a sigh of relief. He still didn't want to run away. After another 2 minutes, Xing Gang opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was Zhou Fu. Cough cough you, Zhou Fu dodged and took 2 steps back. Then, he said, "Gang leader, I think you should heal your injuries first. After that, we'll go our separate ways." Xing Gang gritted his teeth and sat up. Looking at Zhou Fu, he asked, "You didn't kill me?" Zhou Fu shrugged and said helplessly, "I still don't want to be hunted down by the Xing family." Xing Gang was silent. Nodding his head, he looked at the pill bottle beside his hand. Then, he closed his eyes and circulated his energy to heal his injuries. Whoosh! A puff of black smoke came out of Xing Gang's mouth. The cracks on his body only left shallow marks. Standing up, he looked at Zhou Fu and said, "I'll remember what happened this time. Let's forget about the grudge between us." Grudge? Zhou Fu opened his mouth. For a moment, he didn't know how to react. It seemed like he was the passive party from the start. How did it become a grudge between them? That gang leader, ever since I joined the gang, I don't think I've caused any trouble, right? After thinking for a while, he decided to speak his mind. In Zhou Fu's eyes, the current Xing Gang was king lunatic. He didn't want to have anything to do with a lunatic with a powerful background. Xing Gang's expression changed. Glaring at Zhou Fu, he growled, "But you followed that B***starred, that B***t6. I had no choice but to follow third young master. You were the one who wanted to harm me. I couldn't possibly wait to die, right?" Xing Gang's expression froze. It seemed like that was true. Chapter 228. Xing Gang suddenly asked, "What did Xing Feng give you?" Zhou Fu was startled at first. He didn't expect the other party to ask such a question. Thus he thought for a moment and said, "Cultivation methods and medicinal pills. He even asked someone to guide me in my cultivation." "Heh," Xing Gang sneered, "he is generous as always." Then, Xing Gang stared at Zhou Fu and said, "Then he must have told you about the matter between him and me, right? About the martial arts competition between the two of us back then." Hearing the other party speak so bluntly, Zhou Fu was a bit hesitant. In the end, under Xing Gang's gaze, he nodded and admitted, "Yes, third young master said that he had a martial arts competition with the gang leader back then and won by a narrow margin." "That's all?" Xing Gang looked at Zhou Fu with a smile that was not a smile. "More or less." Zhou Fu didn't want to continue speaking. After all, speaking ill of the person involved in the matter was challenging his bottom line. Xing Gang laughed. At this moment, he seemed very free and easy. He was completely different from his usual self. Even if Kong Yu-tsung, who grew up with him, saw this, he wouldn't dare to believe that the person in front of him was Xing Gang. "Interesting," Xing Gang laughed for a while, then said, "Then did he also say that I have always held a grudge in my heart and even let this matter become my inner demon, causing my temperament to change drastically and become a ruthless and cruel person?" Zhou Fu raised the corner of his mouth. Xing Gang's summary was very accurate. It covered all the main points that Xing Feng told him back then. He said that I took the rich resources at home and wasted a lot of time, but in the end I didn't even reach the Exuvia realm. While he himself worked hard to reach his current cultivation level, and even wanted to reconcile with me. Zhou Fu looked at Xing Gang in astonishment. If it was the previous words, he could still think that Xing Gang had heard Xing Feng's evaluation of him. However, after hearing the latter part, he felt that Xing Gang might have spies in his residence. Seeing Zhou Fu's doubt, Xing Gang sneered, "Don't think too much, I didn't arrange any spies in your house. Of course, I can guess the last words." He looked straight at Zhou Fu and said, "Do you believe me, Xing Feng is even more ruthless than me?" What did he mean? Was he going to roll? Were brothers exposing each other's secrets? At this moment, Xing Feng didn't care about Zhou Fu's thoughts. He continued, "The origin of this matter was indeed that martial arts competition. However, Xing Feng didn't say the most important thing, so the situation changed." He looked at Zhou Fu and grinned. His smile contained some bitterness. That martial arts competition was to select a person to participate in the family's trial. Because they didn't know what the consequences of the trial would be, they held a martial arts competition. The person who failed would be selected. Hearing this, Zhou Fu's heart suddenly jumped. If it was according to what Xinggang said, he didn't even dare to think about it. What kind of person was Xinggang? He was the second son of the current head of the Xing family. He was the biological son. Even if the head of the Xing family back then had not been Xinggang's father, the power of their bloodline was not to be underestimated. Even so, using such a method to select people to participate in the so-called trial meant that there was definitely a huge issue involved. When Zhou Fu heard this, he hesitated. Should he interrupt the other party, turn around, and leave? After all, knowing too much might not necessarily be a good thing. Furthermore, it was related to some of the Xing family's secrets. Xinggang laughed coldly. At that time, Xing Feng couldn't beat me. However, I don't know what method he used, but that day, his strength increased by a few thousand pounds. At that time, we were all teenagers. A few thousand pounds of strength was enough to determine the winner. Naturally, I lost. At that time, everyone present could tell that something was wrong with Xing Feng. However, no one said anything. He won in such an unfair manner. Even my father didn't say anything. Xinggang turned to look at Zhou Fu and chuckled. However, this chuckle was filled with a sinister intent. You don't have to think too much. This has something to do with you. Zhou Fu was stunned. He pointed at himself and asked, "Something to do with me? I've only been in the sect for less than a year. Why would I be involved?" "Of course you are involved." Xinggang stared at Zhou Fu with a carefree expression. It seemed like he was still very concerned about what had just happened. "I saw many techniques from the body tempering hall on you. You have to know that the body tempering hall was very famous back then. When I say famous, I mean famous among the upper echelons of the various powers. Even before the body tempering hall appeared, it was already being watched by people." Zhou Fu felt his heart skip a beat. A strong sense of conspiracy surged towards him. "You should know quite a bit about the body tempering hall, right? For example, that notebook?" When he heard the word notebook, Zhou Fu's entire body shook. He stared at Xinggang with his eyes wide open. He knew. He actually knew. No, how did he know? "I asked someone to put it in there." Xinggang revealed the truth with a smirk. Zhou Fu was numb. A sense of helplessness rose in his heart. What was this? Was he playing with him? Xinggang continued. The body tempering hall, to put it bluntly, was just a field in the eyes of the upper echelons of the large powers. All kinds of strange seeds were planted in it. They didn't know what kind of seeds would grow, but they wanted to know. That was why the body tempering hall was so powerful back then. Later on, those people in the body tempering hall were unwilling to be experimented on by others, so they started to resist. But how could it be so easy to resist? Everything they had was given to them by others. Other than a bit of talent and hot-bloodedness, what did they have? Xinggang stared at Zhou Fu. His tone was filled with sorrow. "They have nothing. Nothing at all." It seemed like he was talking about the body tempering hall, but it also seemed like he was talking about himself. Zhou Fu opened his mouth and subconsciously wanted to say a few words of comfort. However, in the end, he didn't say anything because he didn't know where to start. Following Xinggang's words, he thought about it. Wasn't he also an experimental subject in the eyes of others? The extreme yang burning heaven technique, the name is quite domineering. It combines the demon sect's lesser burning god technique with my family's earth fire palm and some other messy things to create this cultivation technique. Xinggang narrowed his eyes. The demon sect's cultivation technique is heaven stage, but that group of old things took the family's earth stage cultivation technique to fuse with it, hee. One must know that heaven stage cultivation techniques are connected to spiritual sense, especially the demon sex things. After cultivating for a long time, it will naturally affect all aspects of the cultivator. But they don't care. At most, one of them will die. If it succeeds, the family will have one more terrifying, even surpassing heaven stage cultivation technique. The price is naturally worth it. At this point, Xing Gang did not continue. Zhou Fu was silent for a while, then asked, "What about me? You? You are continuing the matter of the body refining hall, but don't think too much about it. At most, 1 or 2 people will notice you. By the way, you have almost all the cultivation techniques of the body refining hall, right? Among the 4 great divine techniques, except for the giant spirit war body, I have the rest." Xinggang was stunned, then he laughed. "Ha ha ha ha. This is too interesting, too interesting. The 4 great divine techniques." Looking at the laughing Xinggang, Zhou Fu frowned and asked in a deep voice, "Is it that funny?" "Yes," Xinggang said with a straight face. The goal of the body refining hall was to study the fusion of blood and qi, so that the physical body and internal strength could be improved together. Finally, it involved spiritual sense, and the 3 affected each other. But in the end, the body refining hall failed, or half succeeded. Half? It's the giant spirit war body that you haven't obtained yet. You have to know that that cultivation technique can improve the foundation of a cultivator. This is an incredible achievement. If the foundation is improved, the upper limit of a cultivator can be raised. It's just a pity. Xinggang laughed evilly. "What's a pity?" "It's a pity that they didn't get this cultivation technique either." Zhou Fu quickly asked, "How could that be? Weren't the people of the body refining hall exterminated?" "Yes." Xinggang nodded. They were all exterminated, but the giant spirit war body was not left behind. To be exact, that cultivation technique was created on the eve of their destruction. There wasn't even any information about it, so of course they didn't get it. Zhou Fu's heart trembled, and he asked, "Then how did they know the characteristics of this cultivation technique?" Xinggang smiled strangely, stared at Zhou Fu and said, "Didn't you already guess?" After saying that, he added, "When people die, don't they still have corpses? Corpses are sometimes more honest than people." The look in his eyes slowly changed, and it made Zhou Fu very uncomfortable. "So, you have to be careful." Zhou Fu pondered for a moment and asked, "How strong are they?" Xinggang looked at Zhou Fu in surprise. He actually asked such a question, but then he felt relieved. Was it another person who wanted to resist? However, it wasn't surprising. After all, he was also resisting. Strength? The highest is extraordinary level 8, and there are about a dozen of them at level 6 or 7. I don't know if it's lower, but it's possible that it's 3-digit. Zhou Fu fell silent again, as if a huge rock was pressing down on his heart. Xinggang suddenly asked, "You know everything, what do you want to do next?" "Next step?" Zhou Fu's gaze slowly became firm, and he said, "Be the leader." "Be the leader?" "Yes." Those people were too far away for Zhou Fu. With his current strength, he couldn't shake their foundation at all, so he needed strength and resources. At present, the fastest way was to become the leader of the giant whale, then gather people and earn a lot of cultivation resources for himself. Dig a deep hole and store a lot of food. Only by constantly increasing his strength would he have the ability to resist when the time came. Otherwise, everything would be in vain. Xinggang asked, "If you say so, does Old San want you to challenge me in public in the future competition and then defeat me?" There was no need to hide this matter now. Zhou Fu nodded and admitted, "Yes. Hee, Old San's mind is still as vicious as before. In another half a year, I'll be almost at the Exuvia realm, right? At that time, breaking my state of mind will be even more ruthless than killing me. Moreover, you won't have a good ending, do you believe it?" "What do you mean?" "If you destroy me, you will destroy some people's benefits. Tell me, what kind of good ending will you have? Moreover, when we fight, we will definitely display our strength with all our strength. At that time, those people will also see your background. Tell me, what kind of treatment will you receive? Zhou Fu suddenly shivered. What kind of treatment? It should be the same as the senior who created giant spirit war body. Xing Feng. As expected, none of the aristocratic children were simple, and none of them were good people. Seeing Zhou Fu's reaction, Xing Feng smiled and asked casually, "Now that you know your own situation, do you still want to be the leader?" Clang. Xing Gang laughed. "All right, since you saved me today, I'll give you the position of gang leader. However, you'll have to wait for 2 months. Furthermore, with your current strength, that Long might not necessarily be a match for you, so you'll be able to keep your position. Let's go." After he finished speaking, he walked back to where he came from. Zhou Fu followed. He was thinking in his heart, did he offend Xing Feng in this situation? However, after thinking about it, Xing Gang could be considered to have been defeated by him. Although it wasn't in public, he still lost face. Even if Xing Feng asked about it, he could just tell him about what happened today. It could be considered as completing what Xing Feng told him to do. Even if Xing Feng was unhappy, what could he do? At the very least, Xing Feng didn't come to him with any kind intentions. To put it bluntly, it was just a conspiracy. Therefore, he was just doing something for Xing Feng and received a reward in advance. After sorting out his thoughts, Zhou Fu felt that he had saved Xing Gang's life. Xing Gang wanted to use the position of leader to make up for this matter. He should be at a loss, and a big loss. "Leader, I want the formula for the blood yang pill," Zhou Fu suddenly said. Xing Gang, who was walking in front, suddenly stopped. He turned his head and stared at Zhou Fu with a strange gaze for a while. Then, he slowly said, "Do you know what you are saying?" Zhou Fu nodded and said, "Of course I know. I have already fulfilled Third Young Master's request. I didn't waste the reward he paid me. As for you, I just saved your life, gang leader. As for the position of gang leader, even if you don't give it to me, Long won't be my match during the large competition. The position of gang leader will naturally be mine." For a moment, Xing Gang couldn't find anything to say. However, Zhou Fu's words made him very unhappy. "I don't have the formula for the blood yang pill." Xing Gang's expression had become a lot more indifferent. "But you can find it, leader." His meaning was very clear. You are the experimental product of those people. Naturally, you can get something that others can't get, but it doesn't affect the overall situation. The formula for the blood yang pill was such an existence. Xing Gang's eyes revealed a dangerous look. "Kid, I just felt that you were a big shot. Now that you are acting like this, you will hurt our friendship." "Friendship?" Zhou Fu revealed an ugly smile. "From the moment I joined the gang, no, from the moment I walked into Ning in East City, whether it was the Giant Whale or the Red Sea Gang, I have never seen the word friendship from any of you." The surroundings were silent for a long time. Then, Xing Gang said coldly, "Okay." After saying that, he turned and left.